Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is story about what if Naruto is beaten by villagers and decided to train under the Kyuubi no Kistune part 1. Before I start, please do support for more amazing content and comments for part 2. Do consider to subscribe my channel and share my video to your friends and check out the description as well. Let's start the video. October 10th. That day was a celebration in the Leaf Village for the day the Yondaime Hokage defeated the Kyuubi no Kitsune. The people rejoiced at the defeat of the beast, but they also mourned at the loss of their loved ones. But there was one person who hated October 10th, even though it was his birthday. He hated it with a fierce passion. It was a young boy with golden blonde hair, sea blue eyes and 3 whisker marks on each cheek. The boy was Uzumaki Naruto. Ever since he could remember, his life had been unfair. He had been hardly fed at the orphanage and kicked out upon reaching the age of 4. He was 5 now and had been living on the streets for a year. He was currently hiding in an alleyway, shivering. So cold, the young blonde thought. He heard the villagers screaming as they searched for him. Why won't they let me be? I've done nothing wrong. Here's down here. One of them yelled to the rest, catching sight of him. Let's finish what the Yondaime started. Another called. They charged into the alley and Naruto did the only thing he could. Run. He turned and ran as fast as his small legs could carry him, but a ninja and the mob didn't like that. Oten. Numa. At those words the earth in front of Naruto became muddy, causing the young Uzumaki to slip and fall face first in the mud. The villagers caught up and began to beat him up. He screamed in pain. Please. Stop. It hurts. He screamed. It hurt us to watch our families get killed by you. One of them yelled at him, nailing him in the stomach with a kick, causing Naruto to cough up blood. I never hurt any of your families. Honest. He tried to plead with them, but they wouldn't have any of it. Let's burn him alive. A civilian yelled out, getting shouts of agreement from the others. A ninja stepped forward with a grin. This is for my brother, you bastard. He made hand signs. Kaiten. Nkakik no jutsu. From his mouth burst forth a large fireball. It engulfed Naruto, who screamed in absolute pain and anguish. He fell to the ground as the screaming stopped. The crowd cheered for a few moments. Several Anbu in hiding came out of the shadows, surrounding Naruto, who was breathing shallowly. The one in the dog mask Inu glared at the mob. What do you fools think you are doing? You have assaulted a child for no reason, and you, Chunin, how dare you? We were just finishing off the demon. A civilian yelled, causing the rest of the mob to yell in agreement. Inu looked at them coldly. For breaking the law of the Sandaime, you are all hereby sentenced to death. He made hand signs as fast as lightning, and lightning crackled in his hand. Rakiri. He sliced through every civilian and ninja there in a matter of moments. He went towards Naruto and picked him up. All of you go inform Hokage-sama of what has happened here. I shall take Naruto to the hospital. Hi. They all disappeared, besides one. This Anbu wore a cat mask and had long purple hair. Will he be alright, Inu-senpai? She asked, worry evident in her voice. I don't know, but I don't want to know what will happen if I take any longer. Inu told her as he used a shushin to get to the hospital. Naruto's mindscape. Naruto sat up in what looked like a large pool of dirty water. He stood, shaking, as he looked at what appeared to be a large gate. Where am I? He whispered. He looked around where he was. On the walls were several strange symbols, seals. Naruto thought to himself, the Hokage having shown some seals to the young Uzumaki a few times, but the scariest and biggest part was the gate in front of Naruto. It was huge, with several bronze gold bars before him. In the middle of the bars was a piece of paper with a kanji for seal. Behind the gate came a low growl. So my jailer has finally graced me with his presence. A large eye opened, vermilion in color and slitted. You came here much sooner than I was expecting. I didn't think you would be here for another few years. Said blonde fell on his ass and stared with wide eyes at the eye. Slowly his sight adjusted to see into the darkness and saw 9 tails waving behind the beast. Why, you're the Kyuubi no Kitsune. The demon chuckled. Well, you aren't as dumb as I thought you would be. But how the Yondaime killed you? Naruto screamed at it. Kyuubi roared at him. Do not speak of that damn ninja. She stood, her tails waving wildly behind it. It is because of him I am stuck in this damn cage. Wait, did he seal you inside me? The demon let out a chuckle without humor. So you figured it out. That's right, that mere ninja could not hope to defeat me, so he sealed me within you. At this Naruto fell to his knees, tears falling. He held his head and the Kyuubi's look became one of sadness. Why me? Why does this have to happen to me? Kyuubi was silent for a long time before she spoke again. Look Gaki, both of us seem to have gotten the short end of the stick. Nevertheless, I am willing to help you out. Naruto looked at Kyuubi confused, tears still in his eyes. Huh? What is your dream, Gaki? Naruto looked at Kyuubi before closing his eyes, a small smile appearing on his face. I want to create peace. I want a world where children can sleep without worry of being attacked or losing family. A world where parents don't need to fight and can spend time with their kids. A world where everyone is always happy. Kyuubi's eyes widened as, just for a moment, she saw the silhouette of another person appear behind Naruto. A relatively old man with silver hair, growing to look like two horns, wearing a white cloak with 9 Megatama design on the back, wearing a necklace with 9 Megatama, and having purple eyes with a ripple pattern. Old man, the nine-tailed demon thought. And then, for one of the first times in her life, the Kyuubi no Kitsune did something nobody thought would happen. She smiled. That is a good dream, Gaki. Which is why I have an offer for you. Naruto looked at the Biju. What offer? Become my student. Naruto gasped. I will train you to become the most powerful being to walk this earth. After all, I can't have a weak host after all. What do you get out of this? Naruto asked warily. All I want is a promise. Naruto waited. You see, I didn't attack Konoha of my own free will, I was controlled by an Uchiha. Naruto's eyes widened. Kyuubi didn't attack Konoha on purpose. It was controlled. I want you to find that damn Madara and bring him to justice. Naruto nodded. I promise. I will find Madara Uchiha and bring him to justice. What's your name? Kyuubi blinked, surprised Naruto could figure out Kyuubi wasn't her name so quickly. My name is Kurama, the 9th Biju. I'm Uzumaki Naruto. Naruto declared to her loudly. I'm gonna be Hokage, Dadabeo. Kurama grinned. Alright Gaki. We begin your training tomorrow. But you have to do exactly as I say in or out of training, understood? Yes, Kurama-sensei. Naruto saluted the fox. I've finished healing you outside. Time to wake up Gaki. Naruto nodded as he felt a pull. He let the feeling take him as he left the Biju alone. I may have found him, old man Kurama whispered as he lay down. I will raise him upright as if he were my own son, and then Kurama shrunk in size until she had a new look. She spoke in a more feminine voice. I look forward to training you, Naruto-kun. Konoha Hospital. The Sandaime Hokage, Sarutobi Hiruzen, stood over Naruto's hospital bed the following day with a worried look. At his side stood Inu. Inu, why didn't you do anything sooner? Forgive us, Hokage-sama, Inu apologized. We lost track of Naruto, he is far too good at stealth for his own good. Hiruzen nodded. We will have to be sure this doesn't happen again. I want you to keep an extra close eye on Naruto from now on. Hi, Hokage-sama. Inu agreed before disappearing in a shushin. Hiruzen sighed sadly. He was regretting even telling the civilian council about Naruto being a Jinchuriki and was furious with the orphanage as well. He had gone to visit Naruto several times over the last few months, but he wasn't at the orphanage. They told him that Naruto simply went to the park whenever he was there. He was furious with himself and the civilian council. He was snapped out of his thoughts by an awakening Uzumaki Naruto. He groaned as he sat up, holding his head slightly. His blue eyes scanned the room until they focused on his grandfather figure. Jiji. He smiled kindly. Hello Naruto-kun, how are you? Naruto gained a sour face. Is that a sick joke? He asked in a cold tone, which caused the aged Hokage to flinch. Why didn't you tell me, Jiji? He tell you what, Naruto-kun? He tried to shrug it off. But what Naruto said next gave him a shock. Why didn't you tell me I had a demon sealed in my stomach? He snapped. I'm not that bad, Gaki, Kurama said to Naruto, surprising the blonde. Kurama-sensei, Naruto yelled. Naruto-kun, who is Kurama? Hiruzen asked, confused. Tell him who I am, Gaki, he should know I'm training you. Naruto nodded and explained to the Sandaime about how Kurama was the Kyuubi and how it was Madara Uchiha that had controlled the 9-tailed Biju to attack the village. He also explained how Kurama was going to be his sensei. Naruto-kun, how can you trust the Biju so quickly? The Hokage asked with worry. What if it is tricking you? I am not in it, I am a woman. Kurama growled. Naruto didn't show any surprise at this. Kurama-sensei isn't in it, Jiji. Kurama-sensei is a woman. The Sandaime nearly jumped in shock. The Kyuubi is female. Naruto nodded. And I can trust her because she has been honest with me and offered me more than anyone else has. Hiruzen winced. Naruto, are you sure Kurama-sari is trustworthy? Naruto nodded without hesitation. I trust Kurama-sensei with my life. The Hokage nodded. Then I grant you permission to use the Hokage personal training grounds. Naruto's eyes shone brightly at this, which warmed the old Hokage's heart. And, though you aren't really allowed to go to the library until you are a ninja, he took out a card and handed it to Naruto. I will make an exception. This card will allow you to get into the library. If the librarian tries to question you, just show this card. Arigato, Hokage Jiji. Naruto smiled brightly. Hiruzen patted Naruto's head. You are welcome, Naruto-kun. Now, if you excuse me, I have to get to paperwork. He turned to leave. Naruto-kun, I know how to beat the paperwork, just tell him to use cage bushins. Kurama told him. Jiji. Naruto called out. Why don't you just use Kage Bushin to do the paperwork? The aged Hokage froze, turning to look at the blonde Uzumaki with wide eyes. And Naruto-kun, you are a genius. He grabbed the blonde and lifted him into the air, which Naruto liked a great deal. The bane of the cages is solved. Victory is mine at last. Paperwork. He waved him around before putting him back on the hospital bed. He immediately made several clones to do the paperwork. I owe you one, Naruto-kun. Naruto nodded before Kurama told him to make up on that deal. In that case, Jiji, could you take me shopping? A lot of the stores kick me out, so I can't really buy anything. Hiruzen gained an angry look before nodding. Well then, Naruto-kun, show me these stores that have wronged you and let's see if we can change their minds on how they treat you. I think the old man and I will get along great. Kurama announced with a grin. The tone used sent a shiver down Naruto's spine as he and the Hokage left the hospital. The two walked through the village, all the villagers unable to give hateful glares or attack Naruto, while the age-old Hokage was there. Naruto grinned at the villagers' outrage, while Kurama broke out into giggle fits. What should we start with, Kurama-sensei? Naruto asked. Start with weapons and clothing. I'll use my chakra to modify the clothing so it grows with you. Kurama ordered. Naruto looked to the Hokage. Hey Jiji, can we start with my ninja supplies? Hiruzen nodded. Of course, Naruto-kun. He led Naruto to Higurashi Ninja Supplies. As they walked in, the owner gave them both a kind smile. He was about 6 feet tall. He had chocolate brown hair and green eyes. He wore black pants, tradition ninja sandals and a white shirt. Welcome Hokage-sama, how can I help you today? He asked in a deep voice. It's not me you are helping today, it is this young boy. He patted Naruto on the back, who looked around nervously. Hello. My name is Uzumaki Naruto. And nice to meet you, sir. He stuttered, slightly afraid. This caused the man at the desk to clench his fists in anger, as well as the aged Hokage. To think that this boy was afraid of meeting new people was ridiculous. Hiruzen promised to send a lot of people to Ibiki. No need to be afraid of me, Naruto-kun, I do not hate you unlike the foolish civilians. You are always welcome in my shop. He said kindly. My name is Jin Higurashi. You may call me Jin. It's nice to meet you, Jin-san. Naruto said politely, a bit calmer. Take your time looking around, Naruto-kun, Jin told him, and Naruto nodded. What do I need, Kurama-sensei? Naruto asked the vixen. 300 shuriken, 150 kunai, 100 explosive tags. Kurama told the blonde. If anything else catches your eye, let me know and I'll tell you if you can get it or not. Naruto nodded and began to look around the shop. He stopped upon seeing two objects side by side. The first was a pair of gauntlets. The rims were shimmering silver and the main body was bronze. On the underside of one was a short blade and the other had a slot area to fit a longer blade. A sword. The object beside the gauntlets was a 28-inch long, shimmering white-bladed katana. The hilt was pitch black and the guard was silver. Dangling from the hilt was a chain where all three colors combined form a heart, a third on the right white, a third in the middle silver, and a third on the right black. Naruto slowly walked towards them, mesmerized. Naruto. Kurama yelled. Get those. They will be perfect for the Kenjutsu and Taijutsu style I intend to teach you. Naruto nodded before touching the gauntlets. Immediately they shot out and latched onto Naruto's arms, surprising the blonde. Jijiji. Naruto called out surprised. The aged Hokage glanced at him. These gauntlets just latched onto me when I touched them. What's up with that? Jin's eyes widened and he looked. His breath caught in his throat. Those gauntlets. Huh? Naruto looked at Jin. Was I not supposed to touch them? Sorry. It's not that, Naruto-kun, Jin told him. It's just those gauntlets have never been used by anyone ever since we got them. They just bolted away when anyone tried to wear them. Naruto blinked. Oh well, I guess they like me. Naruto grabbed the sword and was surprised. He expected the weapon to be heavy, near impossible for him to pick up. But he was wrong. He lifted the blade with ease, as if he had been doing it all his life. It felt perfect in his hand. Can I get this sword too? It feels right. Hiruzen looked to Naruto before letting out a smile. So on accident Naruto-kun has picked up his mother's sword. Hiruzen thought. Of course you can, Naruto-kun. The Kami no Shinobi told him. Naruto let out a small smile before grabbing some clothes and disappearing into one of the changing rooms. Jin looked at the old Hokage. He is full of surprises, isn't he? Hiruzen smiled. Naruto-kun will surpass us all and be one of the greatest shinobi we have ever seen, perhaps even a good Hokage once my time is done. Jin snorted. Don't say that, old man, you have plenty of time. Hiruzen smiled. You're too kind, Jin-kun. But Naruto-kun will be Hokage someday. I can see that very clearly. Then I'm in luck. Jin grinned. The possible future fifth Hokage is shopping here. Could be good for business. Hiruzen let out a laugh at that. The laughing ended, however, when Naruto came out the changing rooms, making Jin and Hiruzen gain wide eyes. Naruto looked incredibly good. He wore black Anbu-style pants and black ninja sandals. There were bandages on his right thigh connected to two kunai holster. Attached to the back of his pants was a shuriken pouch. He wore a chainless shirt covered by a blood-red t-shirt. Lifted up on his head, like a pair of sunglasses, was a mask that was clearly a kitsune. Attached to his arms were the gauntlets. He also wore a black glove on his right hand and bandages covered his left. In Hiruzen's eyes, for just an instant, he saw a silhouette behind Naruto. It was a man with familiar spiky blonde-haired man with sky-blue eyes. He had a happy smile on his face, wearing a white cloak with red flames at the bottom. Minato was Hiruzen's only thought. Even Kurama could not help but blush at the look Naruto had now. Despite only being 5, he looked so mature now. He would be a real lady killer in the future. "How do I look?" the blonde asked. Hiruzen smiled. "Very good Naruto-kun, like a true ninja." Jin nodded in agreement. "Arigato." Naruto smiled. "Oh, and Gigi. Kurama-sensei said that she will be modifying the clothes so that they grow with me, so I don't have to keep buying new sets." The Hokage raised an eyebrow. "She can do that." Naruto nodded. "Who is Kurama?" Jin asked. "Naruto's new sensei," Sarutobi said loosely. Jin nodded in response. "Oh," Kurama said, grabbing her head. "Grab some chakra paper too. Don't forget some sealing paper and ink." Naruto nodded and grabbed it. "Gigi, I'm all ready." The Hokage looked surprised. "Kurama wants you to practice genjutsu." Naruto nodded. "Kurama-sensei says it will help me learn writing really quickly and also reading. Plus it can be really useful in battle if useful, at least that's what she says." Jin nodded. "Your sensei is very smart boy." Hiruzen smiled. "Then we are ready to buy everything, Jin-kun." Jin nodded and looked over everything. "That will be 30,000 yen. 100 yen equals 1 English pound equals $1.71 US. Sarutobi nodded before paying for everything. The two said goodbye to Jin before leaving the store. "What next, Naruto-kun?" Hiruzen asked him. "Can you use Chakragaki?" Kurama asked him. Naruto frowned and motioned for the Sandaime to wait. "No, not yet." Kurama now frowned. "For the next part you need to be able to use chakra. Ask the old man to help." "Gigi," Naruto said. "Can you help me unlock my chakra? I need it for what Kurama-sensei has planned next." He nodded. "To my personal training grounds already it seems." He and Naruto began to walk through the village, ignoring all the hateful glares Naruto was receiving. "Oh, and Gaki, once you have unlocked your chakra I intend to give you a partner, like the Inuzuka's dogs." Kurama told him. "What do you mean?" Naruto asked. "I have the ability to create life, as the Rikido Sennin could before me. Well, I cannot do it to his extent." Kurama admitted. "I can only create other foxes. But I can give them certain powers and the ability to communicate with you." Naruto's eyes widened in surprise. "But if you're sealed in me, how will they get out?" "They won't be a part of the seal, so they will literally be able to leap out of you without any risk of damaging the seal." Naruto nodded, but an idea Kurama could not sense was slowly forming in his mind. "Here we are, Naruto-kun," Sarutobi said suddenly. "My personal training grounds." Naruto looked in awe. "Wow." Sarutobi smiled. "This is where my predecessors trained after becoming Hokage. Only they and those they trained with have seen this place." "Does that mean the Yondaime trained here also?" The old man nodded. "Yes. Minato too trained here. He used to train here with Jiraiya, one of the legendary Sannin, as I had given Jiraiya permission." "Do you know the Yondaime's signature jutsu?" Naruto nodded. "It is here, in this place, that the Hiraishin no Jutsu was born." Naruto looked in even more awe. "Ah no, Gigi was the Yondaime my dad." Sarutobi's eyes widened. "How did you know?" "Well, for one, there aren't that many blonde people in Konoha that have blue eyes and blonde hair, besides those people that can look into your mind. The Yondaime was one and I'm another. Secondly, if you were to take away the whisker marks from my face, I would look like the Yondaime as a child, from what I've seen in the pictures. And thirdly, you just told me." Naruto finished. The Hokage's eyes widened before he sighed in defeat. "You are far smarter than you let on, Naruto-kun." Naruto smiled. "Get used to it, Gigi. I intend to pretend to be dumb once I enter the academy, barely passing tests, so that I can surprise everyone when the time comes." Ryzen looked confused. "Why would you do that?" "Gigi, from what I've read in books, what is a shinobi's best friend?" Deception. His eyes widened in surprise. "You devious boy, Naruto-kun." Naruto chuckled. "Ah no, did he leave anything for me?" Sarutobi nodded. "Yes, he left you some scrolls containing his original jutsu, ones he finished and those he did not. He hoped you would finish them in his stead, Naruto-kun." "Do these original jutsu include the Hiraishin?" Sarutobi nodded. "Hi. However, that too is incomplete." "It is?" Naruto blinked. You will find out when you read his scrolls, Naruto-kun. The blonde nodded. So how do I unlock my chakra Jiji? Sit. Sarutobi told him and Naruto complied. Now I want you to close your eyes, Naruto-kun. Naruto did as he said. Now I want you to search for something, Naruto-kun. A ball of warmth in your stomach. It will be hard to find, but it is there. Tell me once you have found it. Naruto sat there in silence for 20 minutes, which Hiruzen was worried about. For a moment he thought Naruto was one of the rare cases that couldn't use chakra at all. He was snapped out of his thoughts by Naruto. I think I've found it, Jiji, it's really warm and powerful. Hiruzen sighed with relief. Now Naruto-kun, take that ball and bring it to the surface. Naruto nodded and did as instructed. Suddenly, a powerful wave of chakra erupted that nearly sent the old Hokage flying. His eyes widened. So much chakra. And so young. Controlling it will be incredibly difficult, but this is Naruto I am thinking about, so powerful. Then he noticed something odd. He could see Naruto's chakra and it wasn't blue. He heard from the Hyuga and Uchiha chakra was blue. But Naruto's was not. No. It was glistening white. Naruto's eyes snapped open and he stood. I feel so strong, I've never felt like this before. I feel strong, but the feeling is also warm. As if Naruto closed his eyes, a small tear falling down his cheek. As if I'm being hugged. Sarutobi let out a small smile at the blonde. Naruto-kun, you shall truly become one of the greatest shinobi to walk these nations. Well, Naruto-kun, your chakra has been unlocked. Do you need any more help? Naruto waited for Kurama to tell him before responding. Tell him to take you to the library. I'd let you go alone, but I don't want to take any risks. Kurama-sensei says to take Mai to the library, just in case. Naruto told the Hokage. Hiruzen nodded. Very well, Naruto-kun, let's go. As they walked, thoughts swarmed in Naruto's head. He closed his eyes, thinking. Eventually, he asked Kurama a question. Kurama-sensei. Yes, Gaki? Am I your only host? Kurama stayed silent for a long time before she answered. No. I had 2 hosts before you, Gaki. Who were they? The first was the Shadame Hokage's wife. Mito Uzumaki. Uzumaki? Yes. The Uzumaki clan was a powerful clan before they were almost completely wiped out. Oh, okay. Who was your second host? It was Kushina Uzumaki, your mother. His eyes bolted open and widened. And my mother? Sarutobi looked at him. What about her? Naruto looked at the Hokage before looking away. Nothing, he went back to his conversation with Kurama. My mother? Yes. Kurama said, a hint of sadness in her voice. Your mother was my host before you. It's why you have your whisker marks. Her voice broke. Naruto, Did she love me? Naruto asked, surprising Kurama. Yes. She told him. I heard her final words when your father was sealing me. They both loved you with all their hearts and deeply regretted they couldn't watch you grow up. Then it's enough for me. Naruto told her. But it's my fault. She screamed. It's because of me you're an orphan. Because of me you never knew a mother's love. Naruto nodded. But you weren't in control of yourself. You couldn't stop yourself. You couldn't tell you would be controlled again. It isn't your fault, it is Madara's. Never forget that. Okay. Here we are, Naruto-kun. Sarutobi cut in before Kurama could respond. Let's go in. Naruto nodded. This is gonna be annoying for me. He muttered quietly as the two walked in. He got a glare from the receptionist, but it ended quickly with Sarutobi there. What books do I need, Kurama-sensei? Every book they have on Kenjutsu, every book on chakra control, and channel your chakra into the chakra paper now. Naruto nodded and pulled out the paper. Hiruzen looked curiously and waited. What happened surprised them, especially Kurama. The paper split into 4 equal pieces. The first became water. The second burned away in blue fire. The third swirled, half of it turning black, until it hovered in the air as a yin-yang symbol. And the fourth and final piece distorted, quivering even though there was no wind, until it swirled and vanished entirely. Naruto frowned. Well, what does that mean? Hiruzen recovered quickly. Those were your affinities to the elements, Naruto-kun. Elements? Yes. Each shinobi has an element or two that they are in tune with. But you are very special, as you have more than that. Hiruzen explained. What are my affinities then? The paper splitting, that was an affinity to wind jutsu. The paper turning to water was a sign for water, a strong water affinity. The burning blue fire? I do not know, I assume a very strong fire affinity. The third piece there? I believe that is a sign for yin-yang release. That is probably the most rare jutsu style, as I have only heard of it in legends. And the final piece, the one that distorted and disappeared. That, I remember clearly, is also rare. It is a sign of space-time ninjutsu. Your father had an affinity to space-time as well, but not nearly as strong as yours is, Naruto-kun. Naruto's eyes sparkled. Gaki, I should probably tell you for your training, we won't really be in the village. Naruto's eyes widened at Kurama's words, and he looked like he was about to cry. "What's wrong, Naruto-kun?" Sarutobi asked. "Kurama-sensei," Naruto sniffs. "Says I won't be in the village for my training." The Hokage's eyes widened, but he nodded. "But how will you go to the academy when you enroll?" Naruto relayed that question to Kurama. "I am going to teach you right now very special ninjutsu. It will use a third of your chakra and take 2 gallons of blood from your body. It is called the Kaibushin no Jutsu, blood clone technique. It will not dispel, but when it is killed it will become a pile of blood, or it will become a pile of blood if you allow it to." Naruto nodded. "I will be using a special bushin called the Kaibushin. It uses 2 gallons of my blood and a third of my chakra, plus it will not dispel unless it is killed or I allow it to." The Hokage's eyes widened, he had never heard of this technique before. Naruto quickly grabbed all the books he needed, leaving the library quite empty, and he checked them out. The Hokage stored them in a seal for him. "When will I see the real you again, Naruto-kun?" Hiruzen asked. Naruto looked at him. "In 7 years, when I'm 12. I could probably graduate early. But 7 years should be long enough for my training to be complete." Hiruzen nodded. "Make your Bishin quickly then." Naruto nodded and made an unfamiliar hand sign. It looked like the dragon hand sign, but the ring's fingers were stuck out as well, connected to the pinky fingers, and the thumbs were apart. He felt Naruto's chakra spike. Kaibushin no Jutsu. Naruto's blood came out his mouth and formed an exact replica of Naruto. Naruto looked to the Hokage. "Buy him a bright orange jumpsuit. He will be acting stupid so that he is underestimated. He will pretend to be dumb on purpose, act like an idiot, but he will be perfect until I return." Hiruzen nodded. "Goodbye, Naruto-kun, I will see you in 7 years." He tapped a seal on his cloak and some scrolls popped out. "These are your father's scrolls on his jutsu. I didn't feel it was safe to just leave them anywhere else, so I kept them with me at all times." He gave them to Naruto before hugging his surrogate grandson, who hugged him back. "Goodbye, Jai Hokage-sama." Naruto saluted, smiling at Hiruzen's surprised expression before turning around and leaving quickly. The Hokage sighed and looked to his clone. "Come along, Naruto-kun," he said. "Time to get you an apartment." Several hours later, Naruto was far from Konoha in a forest. It had been untouched, no sign of any battle or any human being anywhere near there at all. "So what should I start with, Kurama-sensei?" Naruto asked. Kurama grinned, and though Naruto couldn't see it, he still shivered. "Gaki, get ready for 7 years of hellish training." Naruto gulped, but he grinned, the gears of fate beginning to spin as he did. He had only one thought. Bring it on. 7 years have passed since Naruto left Konoha for training. 7 years have passed since his Bushin has taken his place until his return. Because it wasn't really alive, it had no need for eat or sleep, so it worked on chakra control for the benefit of its true person for after it was dispelled. Sarutobi was very kind to him, despite being a clone. He helped him with chakra control, which improved with each passing day. He taught him several Kaiten jutsu for the real Naruto when he returned to Konoha and the Bushin was dispelled. The Bushin did that. He trained. And trained. It was difficult to find him not training sometimes. But days passed and he didn't stop. Eventually, it was September. The day of graduation. Naruto walked straight to school from the training grounds, sighing. The Bushin was tired of needing to keep up this act for so long, it was getting pissed off. Pretending to like the Haruno bitch. Acting like an idiot. Failing the exams on purpose. While goofing off in lessons and playing pranks was fun, it didn't help at all. He sighed and ran into the Hokage. "Hey Jiji." He called. Sarutobi looked at him and smiled. "Hello Naruto-kun, how are you?" The blonde frowned. "Want me to be honest?" Sarutobi nodded. "I'm sick of waiting for the boss to come back." He sighed. 7 years of acting like an idiot, 7 years of training, 7 years of being beaten up by those goddamn villagers. I shouldn't really have emotions, but I feel pity for the boss. I can't really feel the pain, but boss could, and for 5 years he was beat up, hated. It makes me wonder how he stayed sane." Hiruzen sighed. "Yes, it was one of my many regrets, telling the council Naruto was a Jinchuriki. It caused him so much pain." "He doesn't blame you, old man," Naruto told him. "He can't bring himself to hate any of these people, he loves them too much." Sarutobi beamed with pride. "He is a very strong person, he will be the greatest Hokage this village has ever seen. Even stronger than the Shadame." The Bushin nodded in agreement. "Yeah, well, I better get to the academy. Don't want Iruka-sensei to be disappointed in me for being late on the day of graduation." Hiruzen looked at him. "Doesn't the original return today?" He nodded. "God, I hope so, I do not want to be the one to take that goddamn exam." Hiruzen laughed. "Well, run along Naruto-kun." Naruto nodded and left for the academy. Meanwhile, on the streets of Konoha, someone walked on the streets. He wore black Anbu-style pants with black shinobi sandals. On his right thigh were bandages and a kunai holster. Attached to the back of his pants was a shuriken pouch. Both the holster and pouch were littered with seals on the inside. He wore a chain mesh shirt covered by a blood-red t-shirt. Over his t-shirt, he wore a silver hoodie, a seal on the sleeve. What couldn't be seen was a pair of eyes on the inside of the hoodie, red and slitted. Underneath the sleeves was a pair of gauntlets, bronze with silver rimming. Under one was a short blade, on the underside of the other was a seal. He also wore a pair of black and red gloves, each one with a slitted eye, green in color. Under the hood, though it couldn't be seen, was spiky blonde hair with red tips that reached to the person's shoulders, sky blue eyes, and 3 whisker marks on each cheek. He stood at 5'11", tall for his age. "Pinohe." The person mused aloud, a strangely deep yet normal voice. "It's as friendly as ever." The voice snorted in his mind. "These people won't change, partner, you know that." It told him. Hate to agree with him, a more feminine voice said in his mind. "But I agree with the bastard, they won't change." The boy snorted. "I know the Kurama-sensei. And cows, I know how right you are, but we all gotta live with it, don't we?" The voice now called cows chuckled. "You won't ever change, eh Naruto?" The familiar foxy grin appeared on his face. "Damn fucking straight. Now where was I headed again?" Kurama smirked. The blonde had become a great companion over the years. Hell, she considered him her very first friend, and a great friend at that. Ever since she had made cows, Naruto had been very happy, and though she pushed him, he was very determined and mastered everything she taught him, which surprised even her. "We were headed to the Academy Gaki for your grand entrance," Kurama reminded him. Naruto smirked. "Yes, that. Well, let's not keep them waiting, eh?" All three grinned as Naruto walked towards the academy. Naruto arrived at the academy a full 2 hours early, so nobody was there. He shrugged at this and simply sat in his usual seat between the pink-haired banshee and the emo Uchiha. He sighed and rested his head on the table, covering his head with his arms so as to not get the light in his eyes. He vaguely wondered what he would have to do when the test of the original didn't arrive in time. The thought terrified him to his core. He hummed quietly, calming the chakra flow and letting it rise before calming it again. It was a chakra control exercise he had learned, which worked wonders for him as it helped him keep calm. He knew the original would find this useful when stupid people pissed him off. He concentrated chakra into his ears and blocked off his hearing so he would be able to keep peaceful. Before he had noticed it, he felt the vibrations of people walking into the room through the table. He raised his head and looked at the clock. Had 2 hours passed already? That was much faster than he thought. He sighed and unlocked his hearing. He immediately regretted it upon hearing a certain pink-haired banshee screech in annoyance at a blonde girl. He groaned. "I was here first, Eno pig." Pinky screamed. "I get to sit next to Sasuke-kun." "No way, billboard brow." Eno yelled back. "I get to sit next to Sasuke-kun." "Hami, kill me now." Naruto murmured. This went unnoticed by everyone though, as usual. The blonde sighed and got out his seat, moving up to sit at the corner in the back. Nobody looked at him, except for one girl on the other side of Sasuke. She wore the same shirt as the male Uchiha, a blue shirt with the Uchiha logo on the back. She also wore shorts that reached below her knees. Attached to her left thigh was a kunai holster. She looked at the blonde Uzumaki in an odd way, but nobody noticed that. Eventually, Iruka walked into the classroom. "Alright everyone, settle down." Whenever he kept talking he got a tick mark. He put chakra into his vocal cords to enhance his voice. "Everyone shut up right now." At that everyone stopped talking and sat. Iruka nodded and spoke normally. "As you all know, today is the graduation test for you to become shinobi, genin to be exact, which you should all be proud of." Everyone was excited, except for one blonde Uzumaki. "But it isn't fun and games," Iruka said in a serious tone. "You dedicate your life to this and you serve under the Hokage with your life, nothing less. I wish you all the best of luck in the Iksa." Before Iruka could finish, a voice boomed in the room. "Finally." Everyone looked around. What the one person said, which summed up everyone's thoughts except for one blonde in the classroom. "He's here," Naruto thought excitedly. "Finally." The voice repeated but sounded closer than before. Everyone looked around, trying to find the source of the voice. A smoke cloud appeared in the middle of the classroom, which everyone looked at. When the smoke cleared, they saw a blonde-haired person with sky blue eyes and 3 whisker marks on each cheek. They all caught their breath. He looked towards the ceiling. "Finally. Naruto has come back to Konohaya," he yelled in absolute delight. Everyone except the Naruto in his seat looked at him in shock. "God damn, I've been waiting 7 years to say that." One person stood, a brown-haired boy with red marks on his cheeks. He wore brown shorts, blue sandals, and a gray hoodie. He had a dog sitting on his head. He pointed at Naruto. "You can't be the loser." He yelled out. "He's sitting right there." He pointed at the other Naruto in the room. And Naruto got up and walked towards the other blonde. "Took you long enough, boss." Everyone was shocked at that. The real let out a feral grin. Thought I wasn't gonna make it. That's exactly what I thought, his eyes narrowed. But can you dispel me now? 7 years of this hell was enough. Naruto barked with laughter before making the ram hand seal. Kai. The Bushin, the Naruto that everyone had known for 7 years, smiled before becoming a pool of blood. Naruto looked towards them, lowering his hood to reveal his face. Several girls blushed. Allow me to introduce myself properly. My name is Uzumaki Naruto, of the Uzumaki clan. The Naruto you have known until now was nothing more than a clone I made while I trained outside the village. He looked towards Iruka. Forgive me for interrupting your class, Iruka-sensei, I will go sit now. With his piece said, Naruto walked up the aisle before sitting in the chair his clone was sat in, smirking. Iruka cleared his throat before people could start speaking. Well then, best of luck to all of you in your exams. We begin with a written test. Mizuki. The silver-haired Chunin nodded before placing a piece of paper on everyone's desks, but gave a scowl at Naruto as he placed the paper on his. The blonde looked over it and frowned. Jinjutsu, what a fool. Naruto made the ram hand sign. Kai. With that, the Jinjutsu on his paper disappeared. He smirked and filled in all of the questions correctly without a single problem. But the silver-haired Chunin Mizuki didn't notice and thought the blonde had failed. Placing a Jinjutsu, what a fool. Naruto stated mentally. What a dumbus, cows agreed. Who wouldn't notice that? All those questions were wayy to hard. Well, based on the Bushin's memories, a certain pink-haired banshee comes to mind. Kurama threw in. Naruto smirked. Yes, that pink-haired bitch certainly wouldn't notice the Jinjutsu. Naruto continued the conversation with his tenant and his hoodie until the test was over. Mizuki greedily collected Naruto's paper, fully expecting to see wrong answers when they reviewed it. Alright, now with the written test over, it's time for the kunai and shuriken throwing. Iruka told them. Everyone got up and followed him. They arrived at the academy training field. In this test, you must throw your kunai and shuriken at the target. You throw 10 kunai and shuriken. Shuriken must be thrown at the same time, but kunai may be separately thrown. Now, let's start with Amiyazura. And so Naruto waited for his turn. Unfortunately, they were going in order of their last names, so he was stuck until the end. He wasn't really paying attention, nobody did that good. It wasn't until he heard a name that he actually started watching. Sasuke Uchiha, Iruka called out. Naruto turned to watch this. He wanted to see how the two famed last Uchiha did at this. He chuckled without humor. Sasuke stood up and took the shuriken first. He watched the target for several seconds before throwing all the shuriken. Each one landed on the target and the amount on the bullseye. Sasuke Uchiha shuriken throwing, 8 tenths. Iruka declared. Very impressive. All his fangirls cheered and Sasuke smirked. Naruto noticed out the corner of his eye that his sister also let out a smirk. Uchiha pride, Naruto thought. It will get them killed. Kurama and cows both agreed with him on that one. Next up, kunai. Sasuke nodded and grabbed the 10 kunai. Deciding to show off, he threw them all at the same time, but frowned as he didn't get the result he wanted. Sasuke Uchiha, kunai throwing, 7 tenths. Iruka said. Still impressive. HN was all the Uchiha said before going to stand with his sister, who gave him a pat on the back for a job well done. Sayuko Uchiha. Iruka called, and the girl grinned before stepping forward. She grabbed the kunai and threw them all at the same time, getting a far better result than her twin. She smirked at the result she got, fitting for an Uchiha heiress. Sayuko Uchiha, 9 tenths on kunai throwing. Iruka nodded. Very good. What would you expect of the Uchiha heiress? She grinned, causing a lot of the boys to cheer for her. Naruto rubbed his temple. Kurama, I see why you hate Uchihas so much, what arrogant dickheads. Told you, Gaki, the Uchiha are nothing but arrogant bastards. Kurama confirmed. Sayuko got 7 tenths on shuriken throwing, which was just a bit worse than Sasuke, so the two were roughly tied with each other. Finally, once Sayuko had returned to her brother, the final name was called out. Naruto Uzumaki. Everyone looked towards him. He shrugged and walked forwards. What to do, Naruto thought. Hey sensei, mind if I use my own kunai and shuriken? Iruka nodded. If that's what you want. Naruto smirked before reaching into his shuriken pouch. He tapped a seal and pulled out 10 shuriken, all of them made of chakra metal, but nobody noticed. Naruto channeled a little chakra into them, making them sharper, before throwing them with deadly accuracy. They all landed on target. The amount on the bullseye. Naruto Uzumaki, shuriken throwing, 10 tenths, perfect score. Iruka announced, surprised, as was everyone else. Was this the real Naruto? The one they never knew? Were the clone and the original that different? Naruto smirked and tapped a seal in his kunai holster, pulling out 10 kunai. Everyone's eyes widened. How could he pull out 10 kunai from a tiny kunai holster? It wasn't possible. The blonde simply smirked before channeling wind and fire chakra into his 10 kunai. He threw them all and they went straight through the target in the blink of an eye, through a boulder. The boulder caught on fire, causing it to melt. Everyone gasped. Then Naruto Uzumaki, kunai throwing, 10/10 perfect score. Iruka stuttered out, in complete shock. How could Naruto do so well? Naruto smirked before walking back. Too easy. Everyone looked at Naruto in a new light, except for a pink-haired banshee and the man she worshipped. Naruto Baka must have cheated. Sakura told herself. Shah. There is no way he could beat Sasuke-kun. Her inner self agreed. HMPH, Sasuke thought. What a cheat. No way he could get that good, no-name orphan. I will find out his secret and get him out of this academy for it. Iruka then led them to the hall. There they tested them on breaking Jinjutsu. A Chunin placed a D-rank Jinjutsu. Their job was to break it. Naruto shrugged as the Jinjutsu was placed on him. He make a single-handed ram seal. Kai. The Jinjutsu shattered and blew the Chunin back. Everyone looked at Naruto in shock. Do I pass? He asked, causing everyone to face fault. Why yes, you pass Naruto. Iruka told him. Naruto smirked before going to sit down. That god you taught me Jinjutsu. Naruto thanked Kurama. No problem Gaki Kurama said with a smile. What about a thanks for cows? The hoodie asked. I helped you with your Jinjutsu too. Naruto chuckled. You two cows. I don't know what I'd do without you. Aw stop you're making me blush. And hoodie's blush. Cows didn't speak but was seriously considering the question. Well let's think of this logically. I'm a talking silver fox created from a 9-tailed demon queen living inside your stomach and can turn into a hoodie at will, as well as use most of the queen's jutsu. So, I guess it's also possible for me to blush as a hoodie. Sounds legit. Naruto agreed. The Jinjutsu test, much to Naruto's joy, finally ended. They walked back outside where a training field had been prepared. Right, now you will each spar against Mizuki. Your goal is to last 60 seconds. And so Naruto, once again, was forced to wait. He was starting to consider taking on his father's last name so he wouldn't have to wait as long. But then he frowned and shook his head. No, he would honor his mother, the previous Jinchuriki for Kurama, by keeping her last name, and maybe just maybe. Whoa don't get ahead of yourself Blondie Naruto told himself. I need to become a shinobi first. But Gaki Kurama said. Concentrate on the present right now, we can think about the future at a later time, right now this is more important. Naruto nodded and waited his turn. Though he hated his guts, he was impressed with the two Uchiha. Sasuke and Sayuko were both able to last 52 seconds against Mizuki. Naruto chuckled and hoped he wouldn't hurt Mizuki too bad. Not, he grinned. Uzumaki Naruto, Iruka called out and Naruto stepped into the ring. Ready? They both nodded. On begin. The second he said begin, Mizuki charged at Naruto, hoping to accidentally break his leg and end his shinobi dream. But nobody expected what Naruto would do. Naruto appeared in front of Mizuki in the blink of an eye, known in jutsu, pure speed. He nailed Mizuki in the jaw with a right hook, sending him flying to the blonde's left. He then dashed and slammed Mizuki's skull into the ground with a powerful foot stomp. Mizuki was no longer conscious. Everyone, especially a certain Hyuki heiress and Uchiha heiress, stared at Naruto in shock. After a while, Naruto said. A minute has passed. I've managed against a Chunin for a minute. I passed this test. Iruka blinked before nodding. Why yeah, you pass Naruto on one of the other Chunin pick up Mizuki and take him to the medic's office. Well, time to start the last exam. He led them back to the main classroom and opened one of the doors. One by one I will call your name and then you shall start the ninjutsu part of the exam. Everyone nodded and Naruto mentally groaned. Great, he had to wait again. I'm going to kill whoever came up with the idea of using last names to decide who goes when and shove my sword up their asses. Naruto growled. Cows whooped. That a boy. Kurama simply giggled at the blonde's anger. Naruto sighed. They will probably make us do the 3 academy jutsu and then ask for any more so we can get extra credit, right Kurama-sensei? Kurama grunted in agreement. That's what happens now. Back when your mother was in the academy, you needed to know your elemental affinity and know at least 2 C-rank ninjutsu. Didn't matter which, long as they were C-rank. Naruto frowned. Konoha has grown weak no doubt because of the civilian council taking over the academy and making it easier, so their children have shot at becoming shinobi. Naruto snorted. They will die so fast it won't even be goddamn funny. That will change when you become Hokage Kurama teased. Right Gaki? Naruto nodded. You're damn right. I will put the academy back to the old ways. These civilians will have no right in this academy anymore. Only the serious shinobi. He noticed that Sayuko had returned to the room wearing a Konoha hit I-8. Kurama and Cows growled lowly. Uchiha slut. Cows yelled out. Damn bitch. Kurama agreed. Calm down. Naruto ordered. We need to focus on Madara. Any other Uchiha isn't important right now. Uzumaki Naruto, Iruka called, and the name hung in the room. Everyone was deathly silent as the blonde rose from his seat and walked down the stairs. The two walked into another room, where Mizuki was sitting. Naruto stood in front of the desk as Iruka sat down. "First show us a henge." Naruto nodded and, without a hand sign, there was a poof of smoke. Mizuki and Minato's eyes widened. Standing where Naruto once was, there was a perfect copy of the Yondaime Hokage. Iruka took in the similarities the two shared, an idea forming in his mind. Naruto dispelled the henge. "Next." Iruka nodded. "Kawarimi." Naruto nodded and sudden, in his place, there was nothing. Iruka looked closely and saw a pebble. His eyes widened. It was impossible. Only Uchiha Mikoto could perform the technique to that level. Naruto appeared in front of them, smirking. "Finally, Bushin." Iruka managed. Naruto frowned. "Sensei, does it have to be a regular one?" Iruka raised an eyebrow. "You see, my chakra reserves are so big it is physically impossible for me to do a normal one." Iruka opened the rule book and looked through it. "It says here there are cases such as yours where a different Bushin is permitted." Naruto grinned and, in a poof of smoke, behind him stood 5 more Narutos. Each of them had the same prankster grin on their faces. Iruka's eyes widened. "Yes. These are Kage Bushin." Surprised. Iruka nodded. Well done Naruto. You may perform more jutsu for extra credit." Naruto nodded and thought about what to do. Eventually an idea came to mind. He made a hand sign Ram then held his hand towards the door. "Fton." Kami-arashi. A fierce wind blasted out his hands, shredding the door into nothingness. Both Iruka and Mizuki's eyes shot open, shocked. Well done Naruto." Iruka stuttered. Any more?" "If I did any more I'd probably destroy something valuable," Naruto said simply. Iruka quickly nodded and pointed towards the hit I8. "Congratulations Gen and Uzumaki," Iruka said. Naruto nodded and looked over the headbands. He picked up one with a black cloth and tied it around his neck. He walked back into the classroom just to hear a certain Inuzuka snort. "No chance the dope passed guys," he said, and a lot of people laughed. Naruto narrowed his eyes. With a flick of his wrist, the short blade emerged from under his gauntlet. Think of Assassin's Creed. "I'd keep your mouth shut Inuzuka-san, otherwise you may find yourself missing something important to all males." Every male in the classroom, even Sasuke, paled and moved their hands to protect their family jewels. Kiba gulped and nodded. Naruto smirked. "Smart choice Mutt." With another flick of his wrist, the blade receded. Naruto walked up and sat in his seat, not catching the Uchiha and Hyuga heiresses looking at him as he did. Naruto sat atop the stone face of the Yondaime Hokage, his father. He stared upon Konoha as the sun set. "Beautiful," he whispered. It was the perfect word to describe it. The village was beautiful at this time. It was only during the sunset that he felt fully at peace. He always felt as if he could die this peacefully. "Baki, stop those thoughts now," Kurama ordered. Naruto blinked. "Sorry Kurama-sensei, but you know what I mean don't you?" Kurama sighed, nodding. "Yeah, I know what you mean." "Oh for Kami-sama, stop if you." Cow snapped. "You act like an old married couple." "Jealous?" Kurama asked innocently. "Can hoodies be jealous?" Naruto asked. Kurama frowned, contemplating the question. "Fuck you Gaki." Naruto burst out laughing at that. "Got you there Kurama-sensei." Kurama nodded. "Gaki, it's time for you to try that technique one last time, just to be sure you've mastered it." Naruto nodded. This would be the last step to his training. If he could do this, then he would be very difficult to defeat and would put himself in the rank of an A rank, bordering S rank shinobi. He brought his hands together in a praying gesture and chakra channeled within him. He whispered, "Onmum. Banbutsu SMZM." Slowly, in his hands, something began to form. It was slow, but it was defiantly happening. After a minute or so, he pulled his hands apart to reveal a regular-sized crow sitting in his hand. It cawed, and Naruto smiled. "I did it, I mastered the Banbutsu SMZM." The caw flew up and nestled itself on Naruto's head. "I guess it likes me, I did create him after all." Kurama and Cow snorted together. "I'll call him Leo," Naruto decided. Leo cawed in approval at his new name. "Keep using this technique regularly, making bigger things," Kurama told him. "The faster you can do this, the better." Naruto nodded. "Hi, Kurama-sensei." Suddenly Naruto felt very strong negative emotions as the sun set. He could feel the hatred and evil in the air. "That's coming from Jiji's tower, I see, I'd know this anger anywhere Mizuki." Naruto's eyes flared and he vanished in a white flash. Mizuki was running through the forest, the forbidden scroll on his back, along with 2 very large shuriken. He was grinning to himself like a madman. "Once I deliver these to Orochimaru-sama he will give me all the power I need. And finally, I will be one of the strongest beings alive." He laughed like a maniac. He looked back and his eyes widened as he quickly dodged a fireball. He landed on the ground as he looked at his attacker. Haruka. The Chunin looked at Mizuki dangerously. Why Mizuki? Why would you do this? Mizuki laughed, a laugh of pure evil. Because this village is pathetic. Weak. Once I deliver this scroll to Orochimaru-sama, he will make me one of the strongest people to walk the elemental nations. Mizuki cackled madly. Haruka quickly ran through hand seals, but wasn't able to finish because of Mizuki. While Haruka ran through the hand seals, he quickly unstrapped one of the shuriken from his back and threw it at Haruka. Haruka barely had time to kawarimi with a log. But he didn't see the second shuriken following the other's shadow and got struck in the back for his troubles. He coughed up blood and fell down. He tried to stand without success. He coughed up more blood. Oh Haruka, Mizuki laughed. You poor fool. You could never match me. And it will be your downfall. He ran through hand seals as fast as he could. Goodbye Haruka. Kaiten. Nkakik no jutsu. He shot the biggest fireball he could manage at Haruka, who just closed his eyes and waited for death. And waited. And waited. Haruka opened his eyes. Why hadn't any pain come? He looked up. In front of him stood a boy who couldn't be more than 13, with blood-red hair, a silver hoodie, black-style Anbu pants. But the boy also wore a kitsune mask, which was interesting since after the Kyuubi attack, nobody seemed to like foxes much. Haruka's first thought was it being Naruto, but Naruto's hair was blonde with red tips, not red. Mizuki, the boy said, shaking his head, but it sounded demonic. My, how the mighty have fallen. Jabroni, you got some guts though. Stealing the Yondame's sacred scroll of sealing. I'll admit you have some balls, but your life ends here today. Mizuki narrowed his eyes. And just who are you? The boy smirked and looked into Mizuki's eyes, causing the latter to take a sharp breath. The eyes were crimson slits. Like the Kyuubi jabroni, you think I should just tell you? Mizuki snarled. That's exactly what I. It doesn't matter what you think. The redhead snarled. Now you better hand over that scroll before I kick your candy ass all over this damn village. Mizuki backed up, a bit scared now. Who the hell are you? The redhead smirked. They call me. He vanished in a flash of white and sent a hand through Mizuki's chest, holding his heart in front of the Chunin. The White Death. With his piece said, he crushed the heart in his hands, causing Mizuki to fall down, dead. The boy froze at what he had done. He's dead, he thought, scared at what he had done. You did what you needed to do, Naruto. The voice of Kurama came. He deserved to die. You're right, he whispered quietly, the demonic tone gone from his voice. He took the scroll and went to Haruka. You okay? Haruka coughed up blood. I'll take that as a no. Naruto chuckled. He took the shuriken out of the Chunin's back before healing him. He then backed away. Haruka stood. Thanks for the help, but who are you? Naruto frowned and thought for a moment. It was then Kurama provided a good name for Naruto to use. He slapped on his demonic tone. I was gracious enough to help you today, Chunin. He said coldly, which made Haruka freeze. Tell your Hokage of me. Remember my name, and remember it well. I am Asura Otsutsuki, the White Death. With that, Asura threw the scroll towards Haruka and disappeared in a white flash. Haruka looked afraid now, very afraid. The Anbu arrived, and upon seeing a dead Mizuki, turned to look at a frozen and scared Yamino Haruka. Care to explain what happened, Chunin Yamino? One of the Anbu asked the Chunin, who snapped out of it. He sighed. Well, how do I explain this? But, unknown to them, someone had seen the whole thing. And there she sat at a distance, Sharingan spinning wildly as she fled, having a good idea of who the person was and where he was. Naruto appeared back on top of the Yondame's head on the Hokage monument. He took off his mask and withdrew Kurama's power. Immediately his hair went back to being blonde with red tips. He sealed his mask back into his cloak, smirking. That went perfectly. Now if I do a few bad acts under that name, Asura Otsutsuki will be known all over the elemental nations. My plan is going well. Don't get ahead of yourself, Gaki, Kurama told him. But yes, it is going good. Well? Cows asked. Good. This is fucking brilliant. I can't wait. Naruto smirked. Asura Otsutsuki, where did you get that name? Kurama was silent for a while before answering. That was the name of the Rikido Senin's second son. Naruto caught his breath. His son. Kurama nodded. Yes. I gave that name because Kurama frowned. I don't know, I just feel something similar about him here. Naruto was silent. Was he similar to Asura? Naruto didn't know. He looked up to the sage, the man who created ninjutsu. The man who sealed the Kyuubi, who brought peace to the world alongside his brother, which not many heard about, but Kurama told Naruto about everything to do with the Rikido. Well, a voice said behind Naruto, causing said blonde to freeze. He slowly turned around, with wide eyes. Seiuko? Naruto was able to get out, coming face to face with Seiuko Uchiha. The Uchiha era smirked. Kurama screamed in outrage, cows cursed loudly and Naruto. He just kept looking with wide eyes. So Uzumaki Seiuko grinned. Mind telling me what you were doing fighting Mizuki-sensei? Naruto gulped loudly. He thought 2 words that summed things up pretty well. Ah fuck. Naruto took a small breath and let out a smile. Uchiha-san, you shouldn't scare me like that. He told her. I thought you were gonna attack me. And what is this about attacking Mizuki-sensei? Seiuko's Sharingan flared. Do not try and lie to me, Uzumaki. I know what I saw. I honestly don't know what you're talking about, Uchiha-san, Naruto said innocently. I've been sitting here for a long time, just staring at the stars. Seiuko growled. She took some deep breaths and deactivated her Sharingan. I have no interest in telling anybody, Uzumaki. Just tell me. Naruto smirked. I don't know what you mean, Uchiha-san. Now please leave me, you're disrupting my train of thought. Seiuko glared at him. I will find out about you one day, Uzumaki. I would stop now, Uchiha, Naruto warned. You won't find anything about me anywhere, and the Hokage won't tell you anything without my express permission. Seiuko snarled. Fuck you, Uzumaki. Naruto smirked. No thanks. Now get lost, jabroni, before I kick your candy ass off this monument. Seiuko growled once again before stalking away, clearly angry. I will find out about you, Uzumaki, just you wait. Naruto waited until he couldn't sense her before sighing with relief. That was a close one. I owe you one, Kurama-sensei. Teaching me to be a quick thinker helped me talk my way out of that. That was too close for comfort, Kurama agreed. We'll need to make our moves carefully from now on, that damn Sharingan. Let me at that, Uchiha bitch. Cow screamed. I want to kill that slut. Madara comes first, cows, Naruto told him. After him, we will make sure that Itachi dies soon after, I promise. Well, Gaki, it's time for some training. Kurama smirked. Naruto shivered. Oh, fuck. For the next week, Naruto, under Kurama's orders, did nothing but train. She had him use weight seals, so he would be able to move faster. In addition, she told him to use chakra restriction seals to limit his chakra flow, making it harder to perform jutsu. Naruto loved pushing himself to the limit, but this seemed a bit ridiculous, even for him. But despite this, he loved the training. On the way to the academy, he decided not to take off the seals. This way I have a trump card just in case, was his reasoning. If he took off his seals when he really needed to, then his opponent would fall very quickly, not knowing what hit them. He grinned at this idea, he would be much stronger with this. Kurama and cows agreed as well, surprise was always a good use. Naruto arrived at the academy a few hours early, sitting in his usual seal. He tapped a seal in his pants and was holding a book. The title read. Level 8 Genjutsu. He studied the seals in the book, committing each one to memory, what it looks like, what it does, its name, everything. He would of course have to practice drawing them so he could use them in battle. Naruto didn't pay attention as many of the students walked into the room. He was too engrossed in his book. However, when he felt someone sit next to him, he felt the glares of every boy in class on him. Looking to the side, he noticed the person sitting next to him. Seiuko, he growled lowly. Said Uchiha grinned. Problem sitting next to me, Uzumaki. Naruto wanted to say something rude to her, but he bit his tongue and just went back to his book. He flipped the page, scanning the seal. What you reading? The Uchiha asked him. Naruto looked at her. None of your business. He said coldly. He had no love for the Uchiha, they were the ones that beat him up most as a child, they even beat up his clones. He was incredibly happy to find out Itachi had killed them all. He looked back to his book, ignoring everyone around him. It wasn't until Iruka walked into the room that he closed his book and paid attention. Iruka smiled. I'm glad to see everyone from the academy here and well rested. Iruka-sensei, one called out. Where is Mizuki-sensei? Iruka's frown faltered. I won't lie to you. He told them. Mizuki was a traitor. Everyone, except Naruto and Seiuko, gasped. He stole the sacred scroll of sealing from the Hokage tower and planned to take it to the S-rank missing nin, Orochimaru of the Sannin. Naruto stared on, impassive and uncaring. But let's not dwell on that. Iruka put on a smile. You are all genin of Konohagakure no Sado. You are the new generation of shinobi, and I expect you all to do us proud, make name for yourselves, and defend the village to the best of your abilities. Everyone cheered. Now, because you are just genin, we will be putting you in teams, along with a Jounin sensei to help you on the way to becoming true shinobi. Now, team 1 is. Naruto blanked out, not really paying attention. He would listen when his name was called. He just kept reading his book, studying a very powerful Kaiten sealing technique. It wasn't for another few minutes that he heard his name. Uzumaki Naruto, Naruto's head rose to look at Iruka. Haruno Sakura, Sakura groaned in annoyance. Uchiha Sasuke, Sakura screeched in joy while Naruto groaned. The brother of Itachi Uchiha had no reaction. Uchiha Seiuko, Naruto cursed not so quietly, while both Uchiha smirked. Your Jounin-sensei will be Hada Kakashi. Naruto rose his hand. Sensei, why is our team made of 4 genin and a jounin, while the others are made of 3 genin and a jounin? He wasn't listening, but he knew how the system worked. Iruka looked at him. Hokage's orders. He said that, to make sure this team is fully balanced, you needed 4 genin and a jounin sensei. Naruto groaned but nodded. If anyone had bothered looking, they would have seen a small smile on Sayuko's lips. Anyway, team 8 is Aburame Shino, Inyazuka Kiba, and Hyuga Hinata. Your jounin sensei is Yuuhi Kurenai. The 3 of the genin nodded, but Hinata looked upset at not being with Naruto. Team 9 is still in circulation from last year, so Team 10 is Yamanaka Ino, Akimichi Chouji, and Nara Shikamaru. Your jounin sensei is Sarutobi Asuma. Ino groaned in annoyance at being paired with the lazy ass and the chubby kid. Chouji and Shikamaru looked quite happy to be paired with each other. Your jounin senseis will be here at 1. For now, it's time for lunch. Everyone nodded and stood, except for Naruto. They all left the room, leaving the Uzumaki to his book. After a few minutes, he tapped a seal on his cloak, producing a sandwich. He took an experimental bite. It's good. He took a second bite and continued reading. Kurama-sama. Cow spoke. What cows? Kurama grunted. Why are you helping this gaki? I can't sense anything special about him. What drove you to help him? Kurama frowned. There is something familiar about the gaki. It reminds me of one of 2 people I truly respected. And who were they? That is for me to know and you to find out. Naruto was unaware of this conversation as the 2 were speaking outside of the mental link. So the blonde just kept on reading, unaware of the conversation between the 2. He was vaguely aware of the door opening and someone sitting next to him, but he paid them no heed. It wasn't until he felt a tap on his shoulder he glanced over. What do you want, Uchiha-san? The Uzumaki heir snapped, getting annoyed with her. I just want to talk dope, she said to him. His eyes narrowed. You aren't making a good conversation starter, Uchiha-san. Why won't you speak to me with any respect? She asked. Because you haven't earned it. I am an elite Uchiha. You should show me the proper resp. So what if you're an Uchiha? He asked suddenly. Respect is not given, it is earned. If you expect me to bow down before you just because you think you deserve respect. Honestly, I have more respect for Itachi than for you. Her eyes flared. How dare you? He did not get my respect from being an Uchiha or anything like that. Certainly not by killing each and every one of them. He gained my respect by training hard every day to become as strong as possible. He told her. It doesn't matter. She growled. Training means nothing. He told me hate is the only thing that will help me grow stronger. Then you are a fool, he told her. How dare you? If he was telling you to hate him, then maybe he was trying to hinder you so that you wouldn't grow stronger, unable to kill him. She closed her mouth. She hadn't thought of it that way. It made perfect sense. If her brother wanted her to lose against him, he would give her false information on what to do. So that she would grow weak and unable to kill him. It made perfect sense now. Maybe I should train more, she thought. Consider my words, Uchiha-san. With that, he used chakra to block off his ears so he couldn't hear her. She didn't even make an attempt to speak to him again. She was considering his words and simply let him study his book. He ran his fingers over the seal. He did it several times, as if he was writing it. Nearly 2 hours had passed as Naruto and the rest of his team waited for their Jounin sensei. Naruto read his book, not paying attention to the others. Sasuke kept brooding out the window. Sakura was growing very impatient. And Sayuko stared blankly into space, still contemplating Naruto's words. The blonde Uzumaki soon got up and walked over to the door. Everyone followed his figure as he pulled a piece of paper out his pocket and placed it above the door, then walked back to his seat. Sayuko looked at him. What did you place above the door? Naruto shrugged and went back to reading his book. Sayuko could tell there was something about that piece of paper that definitely wasn't normal. There was a huge difference between the Naruto she knew, the dope, the loser, the class clown, and this Naruto, the star, the rookie of the year, the powerhouse. He seemed more mature, smarter, dangerous. And she liked it. She was snapped out of her thoughts by the door opening. A silver-haired man popped his head through the door. He wore the Konoha hit I-8, it was covering his left eye. A mask covered the lower half of his face. As his head popped through the door, the piece of paper above the door shone with a peculiar pattern, and from it, water erupted and fell on the man, whose visible eye widened, and he jumped up, shivering. Naruto chuckled lightly to himself, he couldn't help it. He flipped to the next page of his book, keeping an eye on the silver-haired Jonin. The Jonin looked at the blonde Uzumaki. My first impression of you is I hate you, especially you, blondie. Naruto laughed loudly. Meet me on the roof in 2 minutes. With that, the Cyclops disappeared in a Konoha Shushin. Naruto, too lazy to get up, disappeared in a Shushin, made of blue fire. The 3 remaining genin looked at where the blonde had been seated with wide eyes, before leaving the classroom. By the time the three got up there, they saw the Jinchuriki and the silver-haired Jonin engaging in a staring contest. They all sweat dropped and went to sit. The Jonin tore his gaze from Naruto. "Alright, time for you to introduce yourselves. Your name, likes, dislikes, hobbies and goals." "Why don't you go first, sensei?" Sakura asked. "So we can get an example." Naruto's sweat dropped. This was the second smartest genin in our year. The Jonin shrugged. "My name is Hada Kakashi. My likes don't really hate anything. I have a lot of hobbies. My goal." The Uchiha twins and Sakura sweat dropped. All we learned was his name. "Alright Pinky, you can go first." Sakura glared at the nickname. "My name is Haruno Sakura. My likes are." She looked at Sasuke and squealed. "My hobby." She squealed again. "My dream." She blushed red, looking at Sasuke. "I hate Naruto, Baka and Ino Pig." Naruto held his ears and muttered under his breath, "Fucking Banshee." "But lord, I think I am deaf." Cows complained. "You next, Emo," Kakashi said to Sasuke. He glared as well before speaking. "My name is Uchiha Sasuke. I hate a lot of things and I don't particularly like anything. My hobbies are none of your concern. What I have is not a dream, it is an ambition. I am going to restore my clan and kill a certain someone." Kakashi looked at him. "As I thought." Sakura blushed. "Sasuke is so hot, I died a little writing that QQ." Sayuko shook her head, thinking about Naruto's words. Is it really worth it to kill Itachi now? Naruto glanced at the Avenger. Itachi would kill him 5 times before a second was over. "Alright, your turn, princess," Kakashi pointed to Sayuko. She liked the nickname, having no complaints. "My name is Uchiha Sayuko. My likes, I guess my brother may be a certain someone." She blushed lightly, which caught Sasuke's attention. "I'll have to test this guy," was her twin's thought. "My dislike somebody in Suiton Ninjutsu. My hobbies reading, planning to add something else to the list. My dream kill the same person as Sasuke, start a family." She glanced at the blonde, blushing. But nobody saw it, other than Kakashi. Kakashi raised an eyebrow. "She likes Naruto. How interesting, your turn, blondie." Naruto chuckled. "My name is Uzumaki Naruto. I like ramen, training pair of foxes." Kakashi's eyes bolted open, but realized he said pair of foxes. "I dislike arrogant people, the time it takes for ramen to cook, and people who don't take being a shinobi seriously." Here he threw a nasty look at Sakura. "My hobbies are training with my sensei." Everyone raised an eyebrow. The boy had a private sensei. Sasuke was angry at this. He and Sayuko were the last Uchiha. They deserved a private sensei speaking with my friends and pranking. "My dream." Naruto gained a very thoughtful look. "My dream is to make a peaceful world, a world where nobody needs to lose their family, a world where a child doesn't need to grow up without a mother or father, a world where everyone can agree and no more children need to be raised as shinobi." Kakashi's single eye widened as he looked at the boy, and his sensei's words echoed in his mind. "Kakashi, being Hokage means to try and keep the peace, to make a world where everyone is happy. And I intend to start with Konoha. It has been corrupted and I intend to fix it." He saw, where Naruto was sat, the silhouette of his diseased sensei. Minato Namikaze, the Yondaime Hokage. Kakashi looked at Naruto again. "That is a very admirable dream, Naruto, but how will you achieve it?" Naruto smiled. "You will see someday, Kakashi-sensei." Kakashi nodded. "Well, now that we all know each other better, it's time I tell you about the real Genin test." Sakura blinked. "But sensei, we're already Genin." Kakashi and Naruto chuckled, then stopped and looked at each other. "I know why it's funny," Kakashi said. "Why are you laughing?" "Because of how dumb she is," he said, and Sakura got a tick mark. "Our other Genin test was way too easy." Kakashi nodded. "Well, Sakura, as Naruto said, the other Genin test was just to see if you were capable of becoming Genin. This test will see if you are worthy to become Genin." Sasuke growled. "We Uchiha are more than worthy to become Genin. Right, Sayuko?" Sayuko was about to agree, but remembered Naruto's words and hesitated. "I don't know, Sasuke," she said, causing Sasuke's eyes to widen and Kakashi to nod in approval. "I mean, all we know how to do is a couple other jutsu besides the basic Academy 3. If they were to put us on a C-rank mission against bandits, I don't think we would do too well." Kakashi nodded. "You are very correct, Sayuko. I can see why you were Kenwaichi of the year. As I was saying, out of all the Genin we pass, only 3 teams are allowed to remain Genin. That means a failure rate of 67%. So we have a 33% chance of passing," Naruto concluded, to which Kakashi nodded. "Correct, Naruto. Meet me at Training Ground 7 tomorrow at 9 AM. He told them. "Oh, and I wouldn't recommend eating breakfast, you'll just puke." With that, he disappeared in a swirl of leaves. Naruto got up and slipped a piece of paper into Sayuko's pocket as he walked away. The girl looked at him in confusion before taking it out and looking at it. The paper read. "Don't listen to him, eat breakfast and get there around 12, he will be late again." She raised an eyebrow, but thought about it. They should eat every meal so their bodies could be strong, so that made sense, and their sensei was about 3 hours late today, so he would most likely be late tomorrow as well. She considered sharing this with Sasuke, but he was as arrogant as their father, no way he would listen. "Hey, Sasuke-kun," Sakura yelled. "Would you go out with him?" "No," came the Uchiha's response as he left with his sister. Sakura sighed and instinctively spoke. "No, I will not date you, Naruto-ba." She looked around, only to see Naruto wasn't there. She squealed in delight. He must have finally got the hint. She skipped away, very happy and certain one day Sasuke would say yes to her. Poor fool that she was. Naruto flipped through a page of his book before writing the symbol down on a piece of paper. It was a seal used as a genjutsu. It made the enemy see what they wanted to see. So in Kakashi's case, he would most likely see Naruto charging in recklessly, when in actuality Naruto wouldn't have moved a step. Naruto had a game plan using the seal, he just hoped it would work. His stomach growled loudly and he realized he hadn't eaten all day. The blonde walked out his apartment and to Ichiraku ramen. Naruto walked in and took a seat. Gucci looked at him. "Welcome, what can I get yo?" His eyes widened when he saw the spiky blonde hair and sky blue eyes. Even though his hair now had red tips, he could almost immediately tell who it was. "And Naruto?" said Uzumaki smiled and waved. "Hey Tuchi Aji-san, it's been a while huh?" Gucci smiled. "Naruto my boy. I'm glad to see you're well. Me and Am were so worried about you. You used to love coming to our shop, but 7 years ago you just walked past. Broke Am's poor heart." Naruto grimaced. "Sorry, that wasn't me. That was my bushin. I've been on a training trip for the better part of 7 years. And because it was just that a bushin it didn't need to eat or sleep. Sorry for worrying you guys like that." Gucci smiled. "It's okay. Hey Am. Someone is here you wanna see." Am came out the back. "Who is it?" She caught sight of the blonde and became a gaping fish. "And Naruto-kun." Naruto waved. "Yo Am Wani-chan." Am hugged the Uzumaki over the counter. "You baka. Why didn't you come eat here? 7 years." Naruto grimaced again. "That was a bushin. It didn't need to eat or sleep, I've been training for 7 years. Sorry for worrying though, Wani-chan." Am smiled. "As long as you don't pull that again, we're good." Naruto smiled. "I'm glad. So, can I get some miso ramen?" Gucci laughed with Am. "Come right up Itato." They set to work immediately and soon enough the bowl was in front of Naruto. He breathed in through his nose, smelling it, and gained an orgasmic face. "Oh yeah. That's the stuff." He picked up his chopsticks. "I did Akamasu." He dug in, crying with joy. "How I've missed this." He cried. Am giggled and Tucci laughed. Someone else walked in and sat beside Naruto. "Hello. What can we get you?" "Beef ramen," came the voice. Naruto stopped and looked towards it. "Uchiha-san," Naruto said, gaining a look from the girl. "May I ask why you are here?" "To eat of course," she said as if it was the most obvious thing in the world. He raises an eyebrow. "You come here often?" She shook her head. "I heard this was a good shop and I wanted to try it. And so here I am." Naruto nodded, accepting the answer. He went back to his ramen and Sayuko got hers. She tried it, her eyes widening. "Good isn't it?" the blonde asked cheekily. "This is amazing." She called out. "How have I not been here before?" "Well guess you were delayed, with the civilian council licking your ass and all," he chuckled. She glared at him. "Do not talk about them. Do you know how difficult this is for me? Every day I'm afraid they will call me and try and put me under the craw, which means for a girl you are locked up in a place where you rarely see light and fucked by people you don't know until you pop out a baby and then it happens again and again." Naruto looked at her. "I imagine they have set up a lot of marriage contracts for Sasuke based on what the craw is like for males." Sayuko nodded and Naruto chuckled. "I just hope they don't find out about my bloodline, otherwise I'm screwed, literally." Sayuko's eyes widened. "You have a bloodline?" Naruto nodded. "I'm a member of the Uzumaki clan, I'm guessing one of the last, as I'm the only one people know of." Sayuko gained a sympathetic look. "We Uzumaki have a lot of abilities to our bloodline. The first is longevity. We live for an absurd amount of time, one Uzumaki leader lived to 200. Another is our insane chakra reserves, it's why my clone couldn't do the regular bushin. Even a third of my chakra is too much, as such, we cannot perform a lot of low-level ninjutsu and no possibility of using genjutsu. There are 2 more aspects to my bloodline." "What are they?" Sayuko asked, enthralled by his speech. "The first is a godly talent for genjutsu, the sealing arts. The last aspect," he trailed off. "What is it?" "That's for you to see," a mischievous glint appeared in his eye. She pouted. "No fair. Tell me." Naruto paid for his meal and stood, turning from her. "I do not trust you nearly enough yet, Uchiha-san." With that, he left the ramen stand. Sayuko looked at his retreating figure before turning back to her ramen. She tasted it. It wasn't as good as when Naruto sat with her. Sasuke and Sakura were waiting at training ground 7, it was around 12. Sasuke sat at the base of a tree, in the shade of the tree, meditating. Sakura, on the other hand, had asked out Sasuke 20 times while Sasuke was there and he had said no each time. For the time being, she had given up and was pacing vigorously. "Where is Naruto Baka and Sayuko-chan?" Sakura said after a while, catching Sasuke's attention. "It's bad enough our sensei is late and now those two are." She gasped. "See, could they be dating?" Sasuke growled. "If you ever say anything like that again, I will personally make sure you are incapable of saying it again." Sakura paled and nodded, afraid of inciting her beloved Uchiha's wrath. But seeing Sasuke angry also turned her on so much. She just wanted to leap on the Uchiha and ride him all night low. She was snapped out her thoughts by a familiar voice. "Oi. What did I miss?" came the voice of Sayuko. Sakura looked towards her and smiled before she frowned. "You're late, Sayuko-chan." She looked sheepish. "Sorry. I was really busy and lost track of time." Sakura nodded. "Oh, that seems fair." She then saw someone else and her eyes narrowed. "Naruto Baka. You're late." Naruto shrugged as he walked over. "Sorry, I got lost on the road of life." In the trees, watching them, the silver-haired Jonin had a small tear in his eye. "This boy will be my true apprentice. Fuck you, Uchiha." Naruto had the strangest feeling he had just one up at Sasuke and he liked it. He let out a small grin. He closed his eyes and let his chakra spread out. His gaze fell on one particular tree. Kakashi's visible eye widened. "How does he know where I am?" Naruto smirked and mouthed. "Teamwork is important, right sensei?" The Jonin froze, shocked. Naruto looked toward Sakura and Sasuke. "Look you two, I ate by accident this morning and I have a couple sandwiches, so why don't you eat them?" "Oh, we aren't allowed to eat breakfast," Sasuke said. "It's 12, it's more like lunch now," he countered. Sasuke considered this before nodding and Sakura followed his example. He took out sandwiches from a seal in his shuriken pouch and handed them to Sasuke and Sakura. They ate them quickly in case Kakashi came along. Kakashi smiled. Naruto was making an effort to make sure the team was in top shape. He had seen Naruto slip the paper into Sayuko's pocket as well. He soon decided it was time to say hello and appeared there in a shushin. "Yo. You're late." The banshee screeched. Kakashi winced at her voice, as would everyone who wasn't used to it. "Sorry, I got lost on the road of life." Naruto chuckled and Sakura's eyes narrowed at the same excuse Naruto had made. "Well, I guess we should begin our genin test." He took an alarm clock and put it on the ground, then took 3 bells and attached them to his jacket. "You have 2 hours to get these bells from me, otherwise you fail." "But sensei," Sakura protested. "There are only 3 bells." Kakashi smiled. "Which means one of you is going back to the academy. And if you don't get the bells, then you will all go back to the academy." Naruto immediately charged at the Jonin, throwing a kunai. The Jonin moved his head and Naruto threw a punch. Kakashi blocked it, then grabbed Naruto's arm and captured him in a lock. Now, I didn't even say start yet." Everyone looked at Kakashi with different reactions. "Ready. And start." He released Naruto and jumped back. The 4 genin immediately dived into the trees to hide. Well, they can all hide well at least. The Jonin reached into his pouch and pulled out an orange book. He started reading it. Sayuko was watching Kakashi carefully, looking for an opening. She couldn't see any thought. As expected of a Jonin. "PST," came a voice behind her. She nearly fell out the tree, but she looked back to see Naruto. "Naruto," she said in a hushed whisper. "What are you doing?" "Look, I can't take him alone," he said. She raised an eyebrow. Naruto admitting he couldn't do something. That was new. "This test is to prove our teamwork, to show we work well as a team. So I suggest we team up to take on Kakashi. I'll go try and convince Sasuke to help and you go get Sakura." "Why don't I get Sasuke? He is my brother." "He may not listen to you, he is a lot more arrogant." He raised his hand as she began to protest. "Look, are you in or out?" Sayuko took a deep breath. "Okay, I'm in." Naruto nodded and then looked towards Kakashi, only to find he wasn't there. Shit, he's already started moving. The two heard an ear-splitting scream that rang through the training grounds. "We need to hurry." Naruto then ran off to find Sasuke while Sayuko looked for Sakura. When Naruto arrived at Sasuke's location, he had to hold back his laughter. There, with his body save his head buried underground, was the almighty Uchiha Sasuke. "Hey Sasuke, how you doing?" "Dope." The Uchiha snapped, angry. "I demand you get me out of here." "Calm down Sasuke, I'll let you out on one condition." "And what would that be?" "We work together to get the bells of course," Naruto said, as if it was obvious. He snorted. "I don't need your help. I touched a bell, alone. I don't need anyone. Naruto was getting annoyed. Sasuke, you touched one, with my help you could get one. I can do it alone. Sasuke insisted. Fine. Naruto snapped. You can stay there then. He disappeared in a shushin. Hey wait. Let me out you bastard. Naruto appeared in by Sayuko, who was looking in a direction, annoyed. Let me guess, Sakura ran off for Sasuke. She nodded and sighed. When will she see my brother doesn't like her? Naruto shrugged. I couldn't get to Sasuke, so looks like we have to work alone. She nodded and the two came up with a strategy for getting the bells. Sayuko didn't admit it, but she was glad only she and Naruto were working together. Kakashi was in the middle of the training grounds, reading his book, giggling perversely every now and again. He then closed his book and turned to see Naruto. Well, if it isn't our blonde knucklehead. Naruto smirked. That was in the past Kakashi, let me show you what I can do when I'm serious. He held his finger in front of him, a seal made out of his chakra coming into existence. Kakashi's eyes widened. Hado number 4. By Akurai. A thin bolt of white lightning shot from the seal, and Kakashi jumped out the way. Sealing techniques. You really are in Uzumaki. Kakashi put his book away, he couldn't take it easy against this foe. Naruto made some hand seals. Futen. Tatapa. A blast of wind shot forward, but Kakashi was quick to make hand seals of his own. Oten. Dorakeki. He shot mud from his mouth, no idea how, and it rose into a wall. The wall was torn to pieces from the Futen, but Kakashi was fine. I smiled. You will have to do better than that. Naruto smirked. Now. Kakashi's eye widened and he turned around to see Sayuko running through hand seals. Katen Kakik no Jutsu. She shot from her mouth a very large fireball and Kakashi was forced to dodge, causing the fireball to head for Naruto. Naruto, on the other hand, smirked and made a single hand seal. Futen. Kamiarashi. He held out his palm and a blast of wind shot from it in a cyclone way, and when it made contact with the fireball, they combined to make a fire vortex that turned and went for Kakashi. Kakashi's eye widened. It can't be. He quickly ran through hand seals, but even he wasn't fast enough. Naruto smirked. Too late. Kimryoku. Taika no Yuzu. Kakashi cursed as the vortex hit him head-on and he was blasted back into a tree, panting. Sayuko ran forward, hoping to grab the bells, but the alarm rang. Damn it. Sayuko screamed. Kakashi looked at them. Kimryoku. And so young Kakashi I smiled. Sorry, but time is up. So you fail. Naruto and Sayuko groaned as they knew what it meant. Sasuke and Sakura were tied to the stumps while Sayuko and Naruto sat by them, annoyed. It was a decent effort, Kakashi said. Naruto shook his head. Not good enough. I'm sorry I let you down. Sayuko looked at him. It's fine we tried. Kakashi I smiled. I have some news. Only Sayuko and Naruto have to go back to the academy. Sasuke was about to protest on his sister's behalf and Sayuko was going to argue she and Naruto had done really well, but they were cut off by what Kakashi said next. Sasuke, you and Sakura are being dropped from the program. The Banshee and Uchiha heir looked at Kakashi with wide eyes. What do you think these exams are about? Why do you think we put you in teams of 3? Sasuke and Sakura looked confused, but everyone was shocked to hear Naruto give the answer. Teamwork, he sighed. The goal was teamwork. Kakashi nodded. Sasuke, you tried to fight me alone, not wanting anyone's help. Sakura, you ran off to look for Sasuke when Sayuko tried to offer help. Only Sayuko and Naruto figured it out and worked together. If all of you had worked together, you may have gotten the bells. Naruto nodded. This was a practice scenario. Kakashi represented a powerful enemy, the bells were the information. The only reason there were 3 was to drive us apart. Once again, Kakashi nodded. Being a shinobi isn't fun in games. It is a career and a single second could cost you your life. Kakashi put a kunai to Sasuke's throat. Sakura. Kill Naruto or Sasuke dies. Sakura flinched and everyone noticed her made a very distinguishable gesture to her kunai holster, even though she was tied up. Kakashi took the kunai away from Sasuke. That's what it means to be in a difficult information. Choosing the mission or your friends. Kakashi walked over to the memorial stone. Some of my best friends and comrades died because of situations like this, that's why they are on this stone. Naruto sighed. He got up and walked over to stand beside Kakashi. My mother and father, he began, catching everyone's attention. They died for me, they died so that I could be given a chance at life. Their names are also on this stone. A few tears fell. And it is only by living that I can honor their sacrifice. He ran his fingers over a particular name, which Kakashi read. Kushina. Kakashi looked at the blonde with sympathy before turning to the rest. Oh, and Kakashi-sensei? Naruto said before Kakashi could speak. Yes, Naruto. Naruto grinned as he walked over to the others and pulled 3 familiar bells out his pouch. Kakashi's visible eye widened and looked to where the bells were, only for them to quiver and vanish. Jinjutsu. But when did you? Naruto smiled. Right at the start. Flashback no jutsu. Naruto immediately charged at the Jonin, throwing a kunai. The Jonin moved his head and Naruto threw a punch. Kakashi blocked it, then in that instant, he placed a seal on Kakashi. Quickly activating it for a brief instant, he grabbed the bells and stuffed them into his shuriken pouch, then deactivated it. Kakashi then grabbed Naruto's arm and captured him in a lock. Now, I didn't even say start yet. Flashback no jutsu, Kai. Why you did it that early on? Kakashi was shocked. Then why did you have me team up with you? Sayuko yelled. Naruto smiled. I needed Kakashi to think he had won and for the alarm to go. There was no rule saying he couldn't take the bells back, and the idea was teamwork, and I did it on my own. Kakashi looked at the blonde before sighing. Well Naruto, who will you give the bells to? Naruto looked at the three before putting a bell on Sasuke and Sakura's heads. I'll give a bell to these two, he walked to Sayuko. And I'll share a bell with Sayuko. Sayuko blushed when her first name was used. Kakashi raised an eyebrow. You never said we couldn't share a bell. Kakashi I smiled. Very well Naruto. As of this moment we are team 7. Sayuko and Sakura cheered, Sasuke smirked, and Naruto threw Sasuke and Sakura glare, along with Kakashi. I wouldn't be so happy Uchiha brat and pink-haired Banshee. Sasuke and Sakura looked at Kakashi. If it weren't for Naruto, you wouldn't have passed, so you're lucky, but if you ever endanger this team, I will have you stripped of your rank on the spot, clear? Sakura nodded vigorously, and Sasuke just went tch. Kakashi cut the bonds that Sasuke and Sakura had. Meet here tomorrow at 7 AM for training. With that, their sensei left with a shushin. Hey, Sasuke-kun. Sakura yelled. Do you want? No, Sasuke replied before walking away. Sakura frowned and too walked away. Thanks, Sayuko said quickly. Naruto smiled. No prob. He began to walk away. Sayuko said, causing Naruto to turn back. Want to get some ramen to celebrate? We could train after. Naruto smiled. Sure Sayuko. She blushed. When are we on a first name basis? Since now, he laughed. He walked past her. You coming Sayuko? She nodded. Yeah I am Naruto. Naruto and Sayuko walked slowly towards Ichiraku's. There was silence between the two as they made their way there, before Naruto gained a curious look and turned to Sayuko. By the way, how did you get to the Hokage monument so quickly? I can sense emotions within a big radius, so I don't know how I couldn't feel you right behind me. Sayuko gained a sheepish look. Well I kind of copied the Shushin no Jutsu with my Sharingan. It was a much faster way to get around. Ah, that makes sense now, he said. By the way, what was that yellow flash thing you did? She asked. Naruto shook his head. Don't know what you're talking about. Sayuko rolled her eyes. Naruto, I promise not to tell anyone, really. Just tell me. Naruto sighed. You are gonna pester me till I tell you, aren't you? She nodded. Fine. I based it on the 4th Hokage's Hiraishin no Jutsu. It's called the Shunji Shunkin Idm. Shunji Shunkin Idm? She frowned. Instant teleport. I was 8 when I came up with the idea and the test worked, he shrugged. Cut me some slack. Well you disappear in a flash of white, come up with something based on that, she ordered. Naruto sighed. Fine, how about Shirokami no Shisma? White god disappearance. She thought about it. I like that, way cooler sounding. Thanks, he chuckled. So Sayuko hesitated. How about we talk about our techniques? If we are gonna be a team we should know our moves, in case of battle. Naruto scratched his chin. Sounds reasonable. They walked into the ramen stand to be greeted by Tucci. Welcome. What can I get you? He asked. Miso ramen for me old man, he smiled. Beef ramen please, Sayuko said. Tucci nodded. Coming right up. Sayuko looked to Naruto. I use the academy style Taijutsu, I know a couple Jinjutsu, thanks to my Sharingan. I know a few Kaiten techniques and the academy 3 ninjutsu. Your turn. Naruto nodded, he decided not to reveal too much. I use a lost Taijutsu style called P plus Nuken Adori. I use another lost Kenjutsu style called Fujin Adori. I can use Kaiten, Futen, and Suiton. I can use several other ninjutsu besides those. I can use a few high-level Jinjutsu. And finally I use Fuinjutsu. Sayuko's eyes widened. I haven't even heard of some of those things. Naruto chuckled. I would be surprised if you had. Then you can fire God. The blonde nodded. My sensei knew a lot of lost fighting styles, Pinyuken Adori is just my main Taijutsu style. While their ramen was placed in front of them. The two began eating, Sayuko still surprised by what Naruto told her. Could you? She trailed off. See, could you teach me? Naruto stopped and looked at her. What? I want you to teach me, she repeated. Please. Why do you want me to teach you? I can tell you have been hiding a lot of your skills and you are the only one who has this much knowledge that I know of. So please teach me." Naruto scratched his chin. "What do you think?" "I say teach her, we can get her on our side." Cows said. "Much as I hate to admit it, a Sharingan would be hella useful." "I'm with Cows," Kurama decided after a moment of silence. "I can tell you now that Jonin will teach you very little, so if you teach her she will grow closer to you and follow your orders, not that scarecrow's." Naruto nodded. "Okay, I'll teach you." She smiled and hugged the blonde tightly. "Thank you, thank you, thank you." Naruto blushed, causing Kurama to growl lightly and Cows to blow up with laughter. "Why, you're welcome, Sayuko." She held the hug for a little longer until she realized what she was doing. She blushed heavily and broke the hug. "Why yes, so wanna train after we finish eating?" Naruto nodded. "Why yeah, I'd like that." The two began eating once again. Naruto ate much slower than he usually would. "Oh no, Naruto." Naruto looked to her. "Yeah. What made you Naruto frowned and sighed. "On my 5th birthday, I was beaten heavily by the villagers, I nearly died. But I was saved by the Anbu. I woke up in a hospital and spoke with the Hokage. He took me to get new clothes, weapons, etc. Then we went to his personal training ground." Sayuko's eyes widened. Nobody was allowed to go there except the Hokage and the people he trained with. Yet Naruto could. It was incredible, but also unfair, and I unlocked my chakra. After that I made a Kaibushin which took my place for 7 years. I trained, and here I am. But why would the villagers beat you?" she asked, confused. Naruto smiled sadly. "Because the Yondaime wasn't able to kill the Kyuubi and instead sealed it inside a newborn baby." "What does that have to do with this?" "What day did the Kyuubi attack?" he asked. "October 10th, she said instantly. "And when is my birthday?" "Oktober," she gasped. "You mean?" "Yes, I was that baby," he told her. "The Kyuubi was sealed inside of me." She looked at him for a long time and Naruto shifted uncomfortably. Maybe she would be like the rest and shun him. Maybe she would beat him too. Maybe she would. "How dare they?" she screamed, which shocked Naruto. "They beat you just cause of something beyond your control, you were made a scapegoat, that is unfair." She subconsciously activated her Sharingan, her two tomos spinning wildly. Naruto was shocked, nobody had spoken like that before, other than the old man. But even the Hokage didn't get this angry on his behalf. It made Naruto happy. "But wait," she frowned. "Why do you still care for this village if they beat you so much?" "Personally, I would destroy them all." Naruto smiled sadly. "Because that would just prove them right, that I am the Kyuubi. I am not though. I am Uzumaki Naruto, the protector of Konoha, a proud shinobi. For now at least," he thought, which caused Cows and Kurama to cackle. Sayuko looked at him before sighing and deactivating her Sharingan. "If you say so. But you need to know you aren't alone anymore. I'm here if you need me. We are friends, right?" Naruto smiled. "I'd like that." Sayuko smiled as well. The two finished off their ramen. "Training?" she asked. "Training," Naruto agreed and the two walked together to the training grounds. Over the next month, Team 7 did their training, if you could call it that. They did team exercises to build trust between each other. These exercises included throwing a ball to each other with blindfolds on, falling back to be caught, etc. Sasuke felt insulted that they wasted time doing this, he was in Uchiha Elite, he did not need this. He should be doing dangerous missions to build his rep and make Itachi fear him. Sayuko was annoyed, she could have been training with Naruto, getting stronger, but this was wasting her time. Naruto was mutual about this, and Sakura thought this was normal for fresh genin teams. They did D-rank missions too, which Naruto pretty much did single-headedly with Sayuko. It was thanks to them Team 7 had the record for catching Tora in record time, 10 minutes 37 seconds. That was including the time it took them to take the mission and locate Tora. Sasuke and Sakura didn't do any of the work, Sasuke thinking it wasn't worthy of him and Sakura following his example. This meant Naruto and Sayuko had to work without help as a two-genin cell, which they preferred. The team had just brought Tora back to her owner, the Fire Daimyo's wife. "Oh thank you," she said happily. "Without my Tora I don't know what I would do." Tora looked in pain and crying, which made everyone in the room, other than Sasuke and Sakura, feel sympathy for the poor cat. "Serves you right, devil cat," Sasuke thought, grinning. Naruto sighed. "Excuse me, miss." "Yes, young man," she responded, turning towards Naruto. "I think the reason Tora keeps running away is you are showing it too much love," he told her, saying it in such a way that he wouldn't get in trouble. "Don't rub your cheek against Tora's so vigorously for one, do it gently. Also, let her lay in your palm and scratch her between the ears." She blinked before trying it. Tora purred loudly, enjoying the feeling. "Oh my, how wonderful. Tora has never done that." Naruto smiled. "If you do this, Tora will run away less often and also do not feed her too much, eating food at the proper times will do fine." In addition, go on walks with her every so often so she can get some exercise. The daimyo's wife nodded and gave the Hokage 3 times the amount she usually paid for the mission before leaving the room with a purring Tora. Once she was gone, everyone looked towards Naruto. What? Naruto, Hiruzen sounded strangled. Do you know what you just did? I saved every team in the future the torture of chasing that cat, Naruto responded. Hiruzen looked at him. But nobody has been able to convince her to do that. How did you manage it? Naruto shrugged. Kurama-sensei taught me how to think fast and be a good talker. Sarutobi sighed. Of course, should have known. Kurama-sensei? Sakura asked. Sarutobi froze, but Naruto kept his cool. My personal sensei, a retired Konoha shinobi. She taught me everything I know. Is she the one that taught you all those kaiten jutsu you showed me? Sayuko asked. I didn't even know some of those existed. Kakashi raised an eyebrow, Sasuke gave his sister an odd look, and Sakura while she was looking at Sasuke. What do you mean? Kakashi asked. Naruto sighed. Sayuko and I have been training together over the last month. Well, it's more like I've been her sensei. Sayuko looked sheepish. Yeah, I tried to fight him, but he was way too strong. Sarutobi nodded. Very well. Anyway, for missions we have. Weeding a garden, cleaning training grounds 5, carrying some supplies to the Higurashi weapon stow. No, Naruto said. The Hokage looked at Naruto. No. No, Naruto repeated. Enough of these D-rank missions. Sasuke and Sakura do jack, making Sayuko and I do all the work. It's time we got a C-rank mission, so these two realize they can't just slack off. Sasuke growled, Sakura screeched at Naruto for being a liar. Hiruzen looked at Kakashi. Are they ready? The Cyclops shrugged. They are as ready as they will ever be. Hiruzen nodded. Very well, Team 7 will get a C-rank mission. He looked at the Chunin by the door. Call in the bridge builder. The Chunin nodded and left the room. A few minutes later, he returned with a very drunk old gray-haired man. I pay for shinobi and I get a couple of brats. They don't look like they could do much, especially Blondie. I assure you sir, I am much stronger than I look, Naruto promised. The gray-haired man looked skeptical. Whatever. I am the super bridge builder Tazuna. You will guard me with your lives. Naruto's sweat dropped. I have a feeling this is gonna be an annoying trip. Naruto sat by the gates, meditating as he waited for the rest of his team. He was pressed against one of the large wooden doors that kept people in and out of Konoha. Cows had changed the way he looked now as Naruto's cloak. The blonde now wore a long-sleeved orange zip shirt. The back of the shirt stretched out like a cloak. Naruto began to breathe steadily and he delved into the depths of his mind in his mindscape. Hey, Kurama-sensei. Kurama was sitting in the cage in her human form. She had long, lush red hair and silted crimson eyes. She had slightly dark skin and large D-cup dots. She had few curves, but each one complemented her body. She wore a red kimono, done loosely, so you could clearly see most of her body, though her and were impossible to see no matter how much she moved. Hey Gaki, the red-haired Biju said to him. What are you doing here? Just decided to talk to you while I waited for everyone, sensei, Naruto told her. A silver fox came along beside Naruto. Hey, don't forget about cows. Naruto laughed and scratched cows between the ham ears. Hey there cows, how you doing? Cows purred. Good, oh yeah, that's the spot. Naruto laughed. Same old cows. Kurama giggled. So Gaki, nice name you've got for your new jutsu. Shirakami no Shisma. The white god's disappearance. Makes sense. Yeah, Naruto chuckled. I was really pushed to choose that name. Kurama nodded, then became serious. Gaki, have you made any progress in that idea? Naruto sighed. I'm still thinking sensei. I've got the basic outline. But. Kurama nodded. Just try your best Gaki. Naruto nodded and his sensors started acting up. Looks like someone else has arrived. Kurama nodded and reached out to get out the cage, but was shocked. Damn it. Naruto frowned before closing his eyes. The mindscape shifted. The seal turned into a ring on Kurama's left ring finger, the sower turned into a vast forest with a 3-story Japanese-style house. How is this? Kurama looked around in shock. This is. It's for you and cows, Naruto said. I made this place, you don't deserve to be stuck inside a cage, so I made this place. Kurama hugged Naruto tightly. She cried tears of joy. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Naruto blushed and hugged back. No prob. Cows jumped on top of them. Thanks man. This place is awesome now. Naruto laughed. The two got off of him and he stood. Well, I'll see ya. He fades away. Kurama stares at the spot he was for a long time. Cows looks at her, then the spot Naruto was in, then his eyes widened. No, you don't. Kurama blushed. Shut up. Cows laughed. Oh you are. You low. Kurama knocked out Cows, blushing. Baka. Outside the mindscape. Sayuko arrived and noticed Naruto pressed against one of the gates. "Hey Naruto." He didn't stir, which made her look on in confusion. Then realization dawned. Oh, maybe he is talking with that. She waited for a few minutes and eventually Naruto's eyes fluttered open. "Oh, hey Sayuko." She smiled. "Hey Naruto, were you meditating?" Naruto nodded. "Was just clearing my head, it's our first C-rank mission and I want to do well." The Uchiha heiress nodded. "So, where do you think everyone is?" "Sakura is probably looking the mirror to look good for Sasuke," Naruto said instantly, earning a giggle from Sayuko. "Sasuke, I guess he is in his room, planning on how to kill Itachi." Sayuko rolled her eyes, but nodded. "As for Kakashi-sensei, he is over there." He pointed in a direction and she looked, causing her eyes to widen. Walking towards the two was Kakashi Haddock with a bag slung on his back. I smiled. "Hello you two." "Why you're on time," Sayuko said. Kakashi looked confused. "Is it really that odd?" "Yes," his two students responded instantly. Kakashi's sweat dropped. "I am serious sometimes you know." "Yes," Naruto said. "But that's usually when a new book in the series of Icha Paradise is released. Or you find out you can torture us all day." Kakashi chuckled. "Got me there." He pulled out his book and began reading. A few minutes later, Tazuna arrived. He frowned. "Where are the other two?" "The duck hair is brooding in the mirror, making plans on killing his evil brother," Naruto said seriously, which made Tazuna shiver in fear. "And the pink-haired banshee is masturbating in the mirror to the thought of said duck hair fucking her hard and fast." Sayuko turned red at that. Kakashi chuckled and Tazuna blew up in full-blown laughter. Kurama giggled uncontrollably in the mindscape and Cows was still unconscious. That was a good one Gaki." Tazuna managed to say. "You're okay in my books." Naruto smiled. "Thanks Tazuna-san." Tazuna chuckled. "No problem." Another 5 minutes passed and Sakura and Sasuke arrived. "You're late," Kakashi said. The two looked at him like he were from outer space. Sakura formed the ram seal. "Kai." Kakashi looked confused. "It's not an illusion." Sasuke formed the ram seal. "Kai." Nothing happened. "Kai. Kai. Kai." Naruto raised his voice. "It's not an illusion you dumb emo shit so stop saying fucking Kai." Sasuke glared at Naruto before turning to Kakashi. "You're on time?" Kakashi's sweat dropped. "Is my reputation really so bad that you think it's a genjutsu when I'm on time?" "Yes," Sakura told him. Kakashi chuckled lightly. "Right then. Let's go." Kakashi ordered. Naruto stood and they began to walk away from Konoha towards Nami no Kuni. And then I said. "Calm down bro, I'm just chilling." Naruto, Sayuko and Tazuna barked in laughter, Sakura shook her head in dismay, and Sasuke kept brooding. "Nice story Kakashi-sensei," Naruto laughed. "Fighting shinobi in Yuki no Kami." Kakashi smiled. "Yes, it was a once-in-a-lifetime experience. Not every day you see that kind of fighting." Naruto nodded. "Nah, sensei, can you tell us about the 5 cage? I'm still a little confused on that." Kakashi nodded. "Well, there are 5 cage, as you know, one for each nation. Cage is the title given to someone who has risen to be the leader of a hidden village, one for each of the 5 great nations. Cage also means shadow, they are called that because a shadow is something you cannot expect to beat so easily. For Rai no Kuni is the Kumagakure, their cage is the Reikage. For Mizu no Kumi, the Kurigakure, along with the Mizukage. For the Kase no Kumi is Sunagakure with the Kazukage. For Tsuchi no Kuni is a Wagakure, Konoha's sworn enemy, with its Tsuchikage. And finally, the strongest of the 5 great nations, Hai no Kuni, holds Konohagakure, with the Hokage. Our cage." Naruto nodded and his eyes lingered on a puddle. "There hasn't been rainfall in days, yet there is a puddle there. It's Jinjutsu. And based on the water, it's most likely missing Nin from Kurigakure." He looked at Kakashi. "I'm certain sensei noticed it too, but he is most likely waiting to see who they will attack. I'll play along for now." The group walked past the puddle and slowly 2 figures emerged from the puddle, both wearing large black cloaks and gas masks. They wore on their opposing arms, one left arm one right arm, were gauntlets attached by a single chain. The two leapt into action. They immediately wrapped the chain around Kakashi. The silver-haired Jonin's visible eye grew wide. "Kakashi-sensei." A banshee screamed loudly. They heard one of the two mutter as the chain squeezed tight against their sensei and he was torn apart. Sakura screamed, Sasuke's eyes widened, Sayuko looked horrified and Naruto just watched. Their sensei fell into a pile of logs. The two men's eyes widened but they quickly regained their focus and charged towards Tazuna. "Fools," Naruto appeared in front of Tazuna with his hand up. He whispered, "Amindo." Tate. Immediately, the world seemed to bend to Naruto's will and a shield appeared in front of him. When the men's gauntlets made contact, the gauntlets shattered. Their eyes widened. "Wah." Naruto punched, his fist breaking through the shield and into the face of one of the men. The man flew into a tree and fell unconscious. One, he muttered, turning and doing a well-placed kick, his foot breaking through the shield as well and into the face of the second man. That man flew into a tree opposite his brother, knocking him out. Naruto made the shield vanish. Everyone looked at him like he was from outer space. Too easy. How can he have more power than me? Sasuke thought, furious. I deserve that power. I will make him teach me. How did Naruto Baka do that? Sakura was furious at Naruto for some reason. He is the dope. He can't do anything right. Her inner voice agreed. That damn Naruto can't do anything. Is that one of his secret moves he never told me about? Sayuko thought, amazed. What amazing skill. I am so glad I hired this kid. Tazuna thought. Naruto looked into the trees. Kakashi-sensei, you can come out now. Immediately, the scarecrow jumped out his hiding spot and landed by Naruto. Well done Naruto, Kakashi congratulated. You didn't freeze up like the rest and kept your head cool, remembering to protect the client. Kakashi then grew serious. Speaking of which Tazuna, we need to have a talk. Naruto walked away and carried one of the men to the other, then tied them to the tree with a rope. The demon brothers. B rank missing nin from Kurigakure no Sato, they were Chunin rank before leaving. They fled the country after a failed assassination attempt on the Yonde Mizukage, with help from Zabuza Mamachi, who had just begun the bloodline purges. Kakashi nodded, impressed with Naruto's knowledge. We were not informed there would be enemy shinobi on this mission. This just became a B, if not A rank mission. My team is not yet experienced enough for a mission such as this. Explain, now. Azuna groaned. Okay, I'm sorry. The truth is, the wave country has been taken over by Gato. Kakashi's eye widened, but Naruto spoke. Gato as in the business tycoon. Azuna nodded. That's what he uses as his bright side, but he is a bad person. He does illegal trades with all kinds of places and takes over villages until they submit and work for him. He's a monster. Building the bridge is our only hope of opening trade of our own and buying the country back from Gato. We needed some proper shinobi but we only had enough for a C-rank mission. Kakashi glared. Then you could have made a contract with the Hokage. You could have hired Jonin and paid the Hokage once you got the money. Azuna's gaze dropped. I'm sorry. Kakashi sighed. It doesn't matter. Team, we are heading Ba. No, Naruto said. Kakashi looked towards the blonde. No. No, Naruto repeated. I can tolerate a lot of things, pain, hatred, I can deal with it all. But scumbags like Gato? I will not let him remain in power. I say we go through with the mission. Kakashi glared at him. It is not your decision. I agree with him, Sayuko interrupted. That shocked everyone and Tazuna looked grateful. I've heard of Gato and scumbags like him shouldn't be allowed to live. I say we kill him. Naruto grins and looks to Sasuke. You and Emo. I'm sure Gato has hired a couple people you can use as practice before you face Itachi. Sasuke scowled but grinned slightly at the thought. Much as I hate you dope, I'm in. Sakura, wanting to follow Sasuke, said, I'm in too. Kakashi looked to all four of his students and sighed. I guess we will continue the mission. But I expect full pay when we can get it, understand? Azuna nodded. Of course. Certainly. Naruto smirked. Well then, let's keep moving. After walking for a while, Kakashi decided they all needed a break. There was a fog around them, almost like mist. Kakashi was speaking to Tazuna about situations concerning his protection. Sasuke was brooding. Sakura was watching the Uchiha, blushing. Sayuko was reading a book and Naruto was meditating, blocking out all the noise. The blonde Jinchuriki was taking easy breaths as he let his chakra flow out around him, sensing the area. He felt a presence in the bush. It wasn't an animal, it had a lot of chakra, it was a jonin and he was emitting killing intent. His eyes bolted open and he threw a kunai towards a bush. Everyone was startled by his sudden movement. After a moment, a small white rabbit hopped out the bush. Naruto Yubaka. Sakura screeched, which made Tazuna hold his ears, wincing in pain. You scared the poor thing. She went over to the rabbit and started comforting it. That rabbit doesn't look right, Kakashi thought. It's summer and yet its fur is white. This rabbit was raised indoors, which means it's easy to find fur. His eyes widened in realization. Kawarimi. Everyone hit the deck. Naruto and Kakashi yelled out together and everyone dropped down low as a blade swung over where their bodies had previously been. They all looked up. Standing on top of a large blade, the sword plunged into a tree, was a man. He wore striped blue pants, black ninja sandals, and bandages over the lower half of his headband was worn, so the forehead protector was more towards his left. However, it had a slash mark through it, indicating he was a nuke nin. He wore no shirt. He had black, spiked hair and no eyebrows. Kakashi spoke. Zabuza Mamachi, a rank Nukenin from Kurigakure, one of the 7 swordsmen, and wanted for the attempted assassination of the Yonde Mizukage. Zabuza looked and smirked. Well, Sharingan no Kakashi. You're in my bingo book. Sasuke looked at his sensei. Sharingan. What does he mean? Sayuko had a similar reaction. Sharingan no Kakashi. Does sensei have a Sharingan? Must be transplanted. It was at this point Naruto stepped forward. Zabuza. My good friend. How long it's been. Zabuza looked at the blonde blankly before gasping in fear and backing up. And Naruto. The one and only, the Uzumaki heir grinned. But how? Zabuza yelled. Haku and I watched you die. We buried you ourselves. Now Zabuza, Naruto smirked. You should know you can't keep a good man down. Naruto looked at Kakashi. Stay out of this, sensei. This is a personal matter. Kakashi glared at him. No Naruto, he is way above your leave. In an instant, Naruto held his fist by Kakashi's face. Want to repeat that? Everyone besides Zabuza was shocked at this. Sayuko especially. Naruto was her friend, but this was a first for her to see him acting like this. Kakashi's eye widened before he sighed. Fine. Naruto moved his fist and turned towards Zabuza. Now Zabuza, how about a little deal? Zabuza frowned and shifted uncomfortably. What kind of deal? First one to draw blood has to do what the winner says, Naruto stated simply. Zabuza looked at him before grinning. I'm game. What are the rules? Fight only to drawing blood. The moment blood is spilled the battle is over. No killing. Naruto rolled up his sleeves to show his gauntlets. Zabuza grinned and made a single seal with one hand. Kurigakure no jutsu. Immediately, the fog became more dense and spread, becoming a fine mist that blocked their sights. Oh, same old tactics Zabuza, Naruto smirked. He turned and moved his arm up and blocked Zabuza's blade with his right gauntlet. And always attacking from the back first. He then moved his arm to block another one coming from another direction. And then doing that. Honestly, don't you learn? He kicked both Zabuza away, one of them becoming water. Zabuza growled. Arrogant Gaki. Sasuke team. Naruto called. Sakura. Sayuko. Pay attention. They all looked at him. This is how you fight in A-rank Nukenin. He tapped a seal on his left gauntlet and was now holding a large black scythe. The handle was all a black metal, whilst the blade was crimson, as if made from blood. Kakashi's single eye widened at the weapon. Zabuza shivered. That's Shum, Vermilion King. Zabuza looked at him. Looks like you did manage to get it. Naruto smirked. And now you get to witness its power. Naruto let his chakra flow into the blade as he dashed at Zabuza. The Nukenin, not wanting to face that weapon directly, swung his sword and the weapons clashed. Naruto pulled back his scythe and attempted a slice at Zabuza's arm, but the demon of the mist moved quickly, slicing at Naruto's legs. In response to this, he jumped up and landed on the Kubikiri Bacho and swung at Zabuza's head. He ducked and kicked Naruto off his sword. The blonde landed on the water and grinned. My Zabuza, it appears Shum won't be enough to beat you. He sealed the scythe into his gauntlet. Then perhaps I shall show you my own personal blade. Naruto grinned evilly. Be honored Zabuza. I have never used this sword in a battle before. He held his hand out vertically and a dark portal formed on the ground beneath his hand. Everyone watched as slowly the hilt of a sword appeared, then the guard, and then the sheath. Naruto. It then shot up and Naruto caught it by the sheath. The sheath was black and had a long yellow piece of silk strung onto it. The guard was bronze and octagonal, revealing it to be an old sword, as blades seldom had bronze guards. The hilt was white, with a single blue waved line running down it on both sides. Zabuza looked at the weapon warily, feeling quite scared. Naruto held it with his left hand and placed his right on the hilt. Open the gates to hell, unleash the sealed demons. Naruto glanced up, one of his eyes turning red. Yamato. Naruto drew the blade and Zabuza, on instinct, jumped back as quickly as he could and he felt something slash just in front of where he was standing. Naruto quickly sheathed the blade. When it was fully sheathed with a clink the water where Zabuza was standing sprayed everywhere. If I hadn't moved, I'd be dead Zabuza realized, thanking his instincts. Well done Zabuza. Naruto congratulated. My clones could never dodge Yamato, no matter how hard they tried. I suppose your instincts are better than I originally thought. Wait Yamato Kakashi gasped. That is the legendary sword spoken of only in hushed whispers. All his students, other than Naruto and Tazuna looked towards him. It is said to be able to cut through anything, and I do mean anything. Sasuke gained a greedy look. It, according to legends, can open up the gates to hell and allow the demons to flood in. You are well informed Kakashi-sensei, Naruto congratulated. But there is more to it than that. Everyone looked towards him. You see, Yamato has had only one true master in the past. He was the son of a man named Sparta, the demon that sealed off the demon word from the human world. The master of this sword was Virgil Sparta, a half-devil, his mother being a human. He and his twin brother, Dante, wielded the two swords. Yamato, the blade you see now, and Rebellion. Only men of Sparta's blood can use them. The two had deep hatred for each other and tried to kill each other many times. Eventually, the two found women they fell in love with and, in secret, had children which ended up growing into two clans. Dante's blood grew into a lost clan, unknown by all except his descendants and Virgil's descendants. Virgil's clan, however, only the clan itself knows of its existence. And Yamato was passed down through the ages, unable to be wielded properly, as it would not choose a new master until it reached the last descendant of that clan. You, Zabuza said, certain of it. Naruto grinned. My name is Naruto Uzumaki of the Uzumaki clan. I hold the Uzumaki bloodline within me, as well as the blood of Sparta. And I am Yamato's second master. Zabuza gulped and put his weapon away. He backed up. Sorry Gaki, but we will continue this another time. And I promise, next time our fight will be magnificent, the Nukenin grinned madly. Haku. We are leaving. A masked person appeared by Zabuza. Yes, Zabuza-sama, she said in a light voice. She looked to Naruto. Naruto. Naruto smiled. Hey Haku, looks like we are enemies now. Hope this all works out though, and we can be friends like we used to. The girl smiled beneath her mask. I'd like that. With that said, the two Nukenin disappeared with a shushin. The mist lifted and Naruto walked over towards his team, only to be confronted by a certain dark-haired emo Uchiha. Dobe, I demand you give me your sword. Sasuke growled. Only an Uchiha elite like me can handle its power. Naruto smirked. Didn't you hear me? Only Pepple with Sparta's blood can use it. And you, definitely, do not have Sparta's blood. Sasuke growled and threw a punch at Naruto, only for the blonde to dodge and hit him in the stomach hard with a hilt. The Uchiha heir coughed up blood and fell forwards, being caught by Naruto. Fucking moron, Naruto mumbled. Oi, Pinky, carry your boyfriend. Sakura blushed at being called that and didn't complain. She picked up Sasuke and they all began to walk. You and I need to have a talk Uzumaki, Sayuko narrowed her eyes. Yeah I know, Naruto sighed. Naruto Kakashi looked at him. How do you know Zabuza? Naruto sighed and looked around. Well, we are gonna be walking for a while. So I may as well tell you it's the story of how I got Yamato and how I learned of my Uzumaki heritage. Uzumaki heritage? Kakashi asked, an eyebrow raised. Naruto nodded. The Uzumaki clan were a powerful people of Uzushi Agakure no Sato, which was actually in Nami no Kuni. Tazuna was surprised. His country held a hidden village at one point. It took the combined efforts of Kiri, Kumo and Iwa to take them down, and even then they took down 2/3 of the people that attacked with them. After their defeat, the survivors scattered. Sayuko frowned. That isn't the story we want Naruto. Tell us. How do you know Zabuza? Naruto sighed. It all began the day I blew up a house. Kakashi's eyes widened. You what? Naruto held up a hand. Let me finish. Kakashi calmed down and looked at him. Sorry, go on. As I was saying, it began the day I blew up a house. Meijin. Flashback no jutsu. A 9-year-old Naruto stood outside a ruined building. Windows were shattered, large holes in the walls, the building was a sickly gray color. The Uzumaki stared at the building. This is where my father and mother were nearly killed, that's what you said. Right Kurama-sensei? Yes, the Biju told him. Then let it be forgotten, he made the ram seal. Katsu. The building shook violently before blowing up. People screamed in panic and began running around, feeling they were under attack. The blonde turned and walked away from the building. After a minute or so, he felt a presence following him and left the village quickly, going deep into the forest. Once deep enough, he turned. Come out. I know you're there. Two people jumped from the trees. A man and a young girl. Not bad kid, the man said in a deep voice. I saw what you did to that building, and I like your style. What's your name? Naruto stared at him. Isn't it common courtesy to give your name before asking someone else's? The man grinned beneath the bandages covering the lower half of his face. Cocky brat. Fine. I'm Mamachi Zabuza, and this is my adopted daughter, Mamachi Hakui. The girl nodded to him. Now your name? Uzumaki Naruto, the blonde told them, and Zabuza's eyes widened in shock before calming. Don't lie kid, Zabuza told him. Uzumaki have straight red hair, not blonde and spiky like yours. Naruto growled. My mother was in Uzumaki, I got strong genes from my father in the regard of my hair. And who were your parents? Zabuza said, hoping to catch him out. Uzumaki Kushina and Namikaze Minato, Naruto snapped, and Zabuza froze. His parents are the Yondaime Hokage, and Konoha's Red Death. Zabuza was quite afraid of this boy all of a sudden. Someone born from those two people was bound to be powerful. What's wrong Toussaint? The girl asked, worried by her father's face. So Naruto, Zabuza said, calming down and ignoring his daughter, which made her pout. What are you doing so far from Konoha? Naruto snorted. Like those bastards give a fuck about me. The tone in which he spoke make even Zabuza's blood run cold. And for your information, I am technically still there, I merely have a clone in my place. At least he will remain there until I return in 3 years. Zabuza nodded. You still haven't answered my question though. Training, the blonde said, as if it was the most obvious thing in the world. And I am learning of my heritage. I need to know more of the Uzumaki clan. Right now I don't know a damn thing. Zabuza tapped his chin, thinking. Until an idea popped into his head. Then why don't you come with me, Gaki? Haku looked at her adoptive father. Tusan. Naruto blinked. Pardon. If you are training out here, this far from Konoha, you must be strong. Zabuza explained. But I can make you stronger. I know a little about the Uzumaki clan and I know where a few of their scrolls are. If you come with me, I can teach you what I know. Naruto tapped his chin, considering this. What do you think, Kurama-sensei? Naruto asked out loud. Zabuza frowned. Huh? Haku too had a blank look. No problems here, Gaki, Kurama told him. Naruto nodded and looked at Zabuza. Kurama-sensei says it's okay. Zabuza frowned. Who's Kurama? The 9-tailed demon fox sealed in my gut by my father, Naruto replied, using a matter-of-factly tone. Zabuza's eyes widened again. A Jinchuriki and the son of those two. Fuck, this kid is gonna be strong. Well then kid, welcome aboard. But let me ask, why are you in this town? Surely you know there is nothing Uzumaki here. Naruto nodded. Yes I know, Kurama-sensei told me. Then why? I'm looking for the Shuo. Naruto shrugged. Zabuza laughed. Please, the Shuo doesn't exist. Naruto's eyes narrowed dangerously. I have a 6,000-year-old demon sealed in my stomach who was around at the time of its creation. The Shuo is real. Zabuza faltered. He stared at the blonde before sighing. Whatever kid. Haku and Zabuza walked past Naruto. Come on. Naruto nodded and walked with them, heading to a new destination. And that's how I met Zabuza. Naruto told Kakashi. So Zabuza was your sensei? Sayuko asked. Yes, he taught me silent killing and an alternative kinjutsu style to my normal one. Naruto replied. But what about your Uzumaki heritage? Kakashi asked. I'm getting to that. Naruto snapped. Anyway, we arrived in Tsuchi no Kuni after traveling for a while. Alright, let's set up camp, Zabuza ordered. Naruto nodded, making some bushin. Excuse me for a while, Zabuza, Naruto said. I'm going to go for a walk. The blonde had changed over the time. His whisker marks were deeply faded, almost non-existent. His originally spiky yellow hair had been tamed and fell flat. It was now a silvery blonde with silvery red tips, but more silver than blonde and more silver than red. Zabuza nodded. Be back in half an hour. Understood. Come back soon, Naruto-kun, Haku told him, blushing slightly. She had grown close to him over the months and had developed a crush on him. Hi, Naruto responded before walking off. Once he was far enough away he let loose a breath. Man, have to act serious around Zabuza all the time. It's pissing me off. Worry about that later, Gaki, Kurama told him. Right now focus on the task at hand. It should be around here. Naruto nodded. He went deep into a cave, going very deep inside. He used his kaiten to light the top of a torch by the entrance so he could see. Are you sure I'll find that scroll here? Naruto asked his Biju aloud. The vixen rolled her eyes, not that the Uzumaki could see. Trust me. I know what I am doing. Naruto nodded and delved deeper into the cave and deeper, we aren't getting anywhere. Naruto proclaimed. As soon as he said that, he hit a dead end. Are you fucking serious? Naruto growled. Wait, Gaki. Kurama exclaimed. Wipe the wall with your blood. Naruto raised an eyebrow but made a small cut across his palm with a kunai and wiped it across the wall. Immediately, the wall seemed to screech in agony as it was drawn up until it no longer obscured his path. On the other side of where the wall had once been, sitting in a glass case, was the scroll he was looking for and a sheathed sword. There it is, Naruto grinned happily. He was about to rush in, but stopped himself. He walked slowly and cautiously to the glass case. He clenched his fist and smashed it. With a smile, he picked up the scroll and opened it. Reader of this scroll, descendant of Sparta, congratulations on finding this place. Naruto raised an eyebrow. Who was Sparta? Kurama's breath caught in her throat. Naruto was descended from Sparta. The Spartan Naruto, oblivious to the vixen, continued reading. If you are reading this, then our clan has been wiped out and you are the last one, for the scroll would not open otherwise. In the case you do not know of this, you are a part of a forgotten clan, known as the Anshin clan. We are descended from the half-devil known as Virgil, one of the sons of Sparta. The sword with this scroll is known as the Yamato, the blade of our clan. Only our ancestor Virgil could master it. We can only hope you will master it and bring honor back to us. If it accepts you as its master, your devil's blood shall react and become stronger, making you a quarter devil. However, this will also grant you the ability to use devil arms. Beware, the wielder of the skull blade. Beware, the wielder of rebellion. Rebellion? Naruto questioned and noticed the blade Yamato seemed to shake in anger. Naruto looked at it. You want revenge against rebellion, don't you? The sword shook once, indicating yes. Then accept me as your master, and we shall make rebellion regret every being created. The sword hovered and floated over to Naruto, waiting. It's time for you to wake up. He grabbed the hilt. Yamato. As he drew the blade, he was enveloped in a bright light and everything faded. Naruto woke outside the cave, Yamato in hand and the scroll in one of his seals. He did not know how he got out, but he wasn't complaining. He looked up. How long has passed, Kurama-sensei? About 20 minutes, the Biju told him. Naruto nodded. He looked in the direction he had come, where Zabuza and Haku were. Sorry you two, he whispered. But now, I need to go. A black portal opened up in front of him, where he put Yamato into. The portal closed and he made a Kaibushin. You know what to do. It nodded. The two walked back to where Zabuza and Haku were. Naruto beat up the Bushin a little bit before slamming a hand through its chest. It coughed out blood. It crawled into the clearing and he heard Haku scream. He sighed sadly and he walked away, not daring to look back for fear of wanting to see them. Flashback no jutsu. Kai. Wow, Kakashi was shocked. This kid, no, this man had gone through all of that at only 9. Incredible. He found new respect for him. Sayuko, on the other hand, was sad for Naruto. Why did you leave? Sayuko asked. Naruto sighed. I had a new power that wasn't in check. I could not risk hurting them. I thought I wouldn't see them again, so I decided it would be best if they thought I had died. I won't say I didn't regret my choice, I do, but I felt it was for the best. Sayuko sighed sadly, worried for her friend. Wait, Kakashi spoke, realizing something. In the story you said you had silvery blonde hair that was straight. You're correct, Naruto said. Then why don't you have it now? In jutsu, Naruto said, rolling his eyes. If my hair wasn't spiked, Hokage would never believe it was me without a lengthy discussion, and I hate those. Everyone, except the still unconscious Asuke, sweat dropped at his answer. So you're a quarter devil? Sayuko asked. Oh yeah. Naruto grinned. Gives me a longer lifeline. Plus, on top of that, I can wield devil arms which are devil or demon souls turned into a weapon for me. How many do you have? Kakashi asked, curiously. 3, Naruto responded. I have Yamato, of course. I have another devil soul from one I defeated a year ago, although just barely. She was a horny devil, he chuckled at his own pun. Kakashi giggled perversely, and Sayuko glared. Tazuna couldn't help but chuckle. She tried to suck out my life with a kiss, didn't manage it though. And then the last one, well, I'll keep that one to myself. Kakashi nodded in understanding. Of course, Naruto. In time, they arrived by a shore, with a man waiting with a boat. You're here, Tazuna, the man said. Yes, we need a lift to town, Tazuna told him. As long as they are quiet, it will be no problem. They all climbed aboard the boat and the man began to row the boat. Sasuke woke a few minutes later and brooded, annoyed with Naruto. I take it you do this to not be caught by Gato? Kakashi asked. Tazuna nodded. If we use another boat, we will get caught. Better to do things like this. Understandable. Naruto said. There was a heavy fog around them as the boat moved. And the fog is to help shield you, correct? Tazuna nodded. Very clever. Thank you, Tazuna said. But being clever isn't enough. We need to work hard too. In order to finish the bridge we must. Naruto nodded in understanding. I know what you mean. It is like when I left Zabuza and Haku, I needed to master Yamato. Hard work was needed to master it. Speaking of that, Naruto, Kakashi spoke. How strong are you? Everyone tensed. They were all secretly wondering how powerful the blonde genin was. Zabuza seemed to be afraid of him, was he stronger than Zabuza? In a flat-out fight, I would lose to Zabuza. Apparently not. However, that caught everyone's attention. By flat-out fight, I mean a fight with brute force, no jutsu, nothing but swords and fists. In terms of strategy, I have him beat easily. And if we fought using our jutsu? He tapped his chin. Close to call. I may just win. If I were to use Yamato, then I could win a bit more easily, but I don't want to use him for such trivial things. Do you think an A rank Nukenin is trivial? Sayuko asked, shocked. Naruto nodded. Yes. I might use Yamato against an S-rank Nukenin, but only if I had no choice. Against an SS rank. I would call him out immediately. Kakashi nodded. And what of that scythe you used? That is the Shuo, Naruto told him. A very special weapon. It is spoken of in legends. It was said to be one of the 5 great weapons in all of existence. The weapons being in order from weakest to strongest. Shuo, the Soul Slicer, a tool of the Rikido Sennin, then Dante's legendary sword, Rebellion, Yamato, the blade you all know and love, and finally the Sword of Sparta. Shuo is the weakest, but it is powerful. When someone is killed by it, their soul is stored in the weapon instead of going to the Shinigami. It is the same for Yamato and Rebellion. Sparta's sword completely erases the soul from existence, which is why it is the strongest. Even the Shinigami fears Sparta's blade. Everyone was shocked at that. Even the Shinigami feared Sparta's blade. A certain Uchiha had some greedy thoughts. I need that blade. With it, Itachi will suffer. Naruto, you mentioned Rebellion before, but what is it exactly? Seiuko asked. Rebellion is, in a sense, the brother of Yamato, Naruto informed them. However, its full power can only be unlocked by someone with Sparta's blood. Unlike Yamato, Rebellion isn't picky about its master, as long as they are willing to fight demons and devils for peace. Does that mean anyone can use Rebellion? Kakashi asked. Not exactly, Naruto told him. Rebellion can be used by humans, but it will not be as strong as when someone of Sparta's blood uses it. In fact, it will only hold a fraction of its true power. And Yamato cannot be used by anyone other than the one it chooses as its master. In this case. Me. How many devils are there? Seiuko asked. Oh, hundreds, thousands, millions even, Naruto said, waving a hand dismissively. However, a lot of them are sealed in the demon world. Only the most powerful devils live here. Nevan was one such devil. She faced Dante and lost, but was revived a few thousand years after his death. All the devils Dante has faced have revived with time, but they are in hiding. Devils or not, humans have become stronger than before, with the ability to seal them away. Kakashi nodded. One last thing, Naruto. Naruto nodded. Go ahead. Have you killed before today? Naruto nodded. Just one person. He attempted to harm someone close to me, so I killed him. I felt regret from killing, but it passed quickly. But moving on to more serious matters, Naruto said seriously. I'll have to ask you to not help me face Zabuza when we encounter him again. Kakashi frowned. I can't do that, Naruto. Please, Naruto asked. I need to do this. It is the least he deserves. I left him and Haku, thinking I was dead. He deserves this fight. Kakashi stared at him and sighed. Very well. But in the mission report, I will have to write I faced him. That okay? Naruto nodded. Fine with me. He looked to Sakura and Sasuke. This should go without saying, but if you ever mention this to anyone, his right eye turned into a crimson slit. I will kill you. Sasuke and Sakura, though stupid, knew to nod quickly. His eye turned back to being blue. Good. You ran away, a small blonde-haired man with sunglasses demanded. Yes, we did, Zabuza said. They had not only Sharingan no Kakashi with them, but also a former student of mine. He held 2 of the 5 legendary weapons. They are not only priceless, but dangerous. It doesn't matter, the small man growled, clearly angry. You should do your job. Zabuza held the Kubikiri Bacho to his neck in an instant. Do not question my judgment, Gatu. I know what I am doing, and I will strike them soon enough. The job will be done. And then I'll end your life soon after, scum. Gatu shivered in fear before taking a step back. I will give you one more chance, Zabuza. If you fail this time, I will not be as forgiving. Gatu looked to his 2 guards, one who wore an eye patch and another who wore a hat. He nodded and the 3 walked away. I hate that midget, Zabuza grumbled. Soon enough we won't have to worry about him too, San, Haku promised. Zabuza nodded. Now it's only a question of if I can defeat Naruto, so we will all be together again. Haku blushed. I hope he loses. I missed him. Zabuza raised an eyebrow. You still like him? Haku nodded. Yes, he is precious to me, just like you, Zabuza-sama. The Nukenin nodded in understanding. Well then, we strike in 10 days. I need to get back in shape to face him. Team 7 and Tazuna were walking through the small town in which Tazuna lived. Naruto looked around, disgusted. The streets were filthy, people looked starved, and even more looked ill. Naruto clenched his fist in anger. A small girl came to him with open hands. Please? She asked. Naruto smiled softly and knelt, taking out a loaf of bread from a seal and placing it in her hand. Don't worry, I promise soon enough things will improve. The Uzumaki ruffled the girl's hair, who smiled brightly. Naruto had only one thought in his head at this time. Gatu will pay. The girl thanked Naruto before leaving. When Naruto rose, the group looked at him. What? I didn't know you were so good with kids, dope, Sasuke smirked. Yeah, you don't seem like the type, Sakura added. My student is growing up so fast, Kakashi fake sobbed, wiping a fake tear from his eye. Little Neri-chan is good with the other children? Seiuko asked rhetorically. Naruto gave them the finger. Fuck you guys. Was all he said and motioned to Tazuna to lead on, who simply chuckled and led them to his house. I made a good choice in who I hired, Tazuna decided happily. In time, they came to a small house. Tazuna opened the door. "I'm home," he called out. The young woman came out the kitchen, who smiled. She had long black hair and black eyes. She wore a pink t-shirt and a long purple skirt. "Welcome home, father." The young boy ran down the stairs and hugged the old man. "Grandpa." Tazuna smiled. "Hello you two. I missed you both." He turned to Team 7. "This is my family. This here is my grandson, Inari. And the lady you see there is my daughter, Tsunami." Naruto walked over to Tsunami and got on one knee before kissing her hand. "A pleasure, Lady Tsunami." Tsunami gained a fierce blush, Sayuko growled lowly, and Tazuna glared. "And nice to meet you, young man. What is your name?" "I am Naruto Uzumaki," he told her. "Your father hired my team and I to protect him until such a time as the bridge is finished. We will work to the best of our ability to protect your family." Tsunami blushed even more. Thank you, and Naruto-san." Kakashi gave Naruto a thumbs up. "Smooth," the sensei said perversely. Naruto stood and looked back, noticing Sayuko's look. "Always someone jealous, Sayuko?" She looked away. "No." Naruto chuckled lightly before walking to Sayuko and getting on one knee, kissing her hand. "I cannot live with myself if you are displeased, Lady Sayuko." It was Sayuko's turn to blush fiercely. Sasuke growled this time, annoyed with Naruto. Shut up you baka." Naruto grinned and stood, before looking at Tazuna. "Calm down Tazuna, your daughter is indeed beautiful. However I feel I may be a bit too young for her, after all I am Twi." He frowned. "What day is it?" "October 10th, Tazuna responded. Kakashi's lone eye widened and Sayuko's blush vanished instantly, replaced with sadness. Naruto gained a distant look. "I see, excuse me." Naruto walked past his sensei. "What's up with the gaki?" Tazuna asked. Kakashi sighed. "Today is Naruto's birthday. Shouldn't that be a good thing?" Tsunami asked. Sayuko shook her head, which surprised Kakashi. Naruto had a difficult life. Every time his birthday rolled around, even when he was a young child, he was beaten harshly, starved, made to suffer. Tazuna's eyes widened in alarm, Tsunami looked shocked, even Inari looked sad for the blonde. Maybe he isn't like other people was the boy's thought. How could anyone do something so cruel to such an innocent child? Tsunami yelled. If anyone had done that to Inari, she would have made them pay. Naruto was hurt for something out of his control, Kakashi told her. He is an orphan, born on the day of the worst day in the history for our village. It was after a certain attack by an entity. After it was defeated, Naruto was put in the orphanage, nobody knowing who his parents were. They thought of him as the entity that attacked and beat him harshly for it. He needed to have a team of Anbu with him at all times by the time he was 1. Sayuko sighed sadly. I'm going to go look for him. She left the house. Everyone was shocked, the thought that someone could hurt a child was shocking. The only one who didn't care was a certain dark-haired Ichihaimo. What lies? Probably a sob story. I will gain his power and kill him. Thousands of stars illuminated a lake in the forest, a gentle breeze blew, causing ripples in the water. Standing atop the water, with closed eyes, stood Naruto without the genjutsu over his body. With it gone, he looked different. His whisker marks could no longer be seen unless you were to put your eye right by Naruto's cheek. His hair was no longer spiky. It was pure silver, besides the very tips that were blood red. His clothes were different too. Cows had changed into a black cloak that reached the top of his ankles. He wore a dark red shirt, black jeans, and dark brown boots. His eyes were closed as he held Yamato at his side. His right hand hovered over the hilt, ready to draw it at a moment's notice. He didn't do anything. He didn't open his eyes, he didn't move an inch, he didn't even breath. He simply stood atop the lake. Slowly, a silver aura began to cover his body. Silver swords appeared around him and shot in all directions, slicing through trees. He gripped Yamato. Open the gates to hell, unleash the seal demons. Naruto opened his eyes, his left one was now a crimson slit. Yamato. He drew Yamato quick, slashing faster than the eye could see. He then slowly began sheathing it. When it sheathed with an audible click, the water in front of the silver-haired Uzumaki split into, all the way to the bottom of the lake, before crashing back together. Naruto sighed. I'm too slow based on what Kurama says, Virgil was faster. Naruto looked over the water. He then sat, crossed his legs, made an odd hand seal with his hands, and closed his eyes. Yes Naruto, Kurama told him. You need to feel the chakra in the air and let flow into your system of its own accord. Naruto sat in silence for a while, but then stood. Not yet. Practicing that out in the open is suicide. He looked to the moon and sighed. It's the same moon as that night from your memories. Isn't it, Kurama-sensei? Kurama sighed. Yes Naruto, it is the exact same moon. A straight tear fell down his cheek. Why did it have to be me? I'm sorry, Kurama said, for what must have been the 1000th time. Why did it have to be me? Naruto held his hand over his eyes and tears began to flow freely. Out of the forest came the Uchiha heiress. Upon seeing Naruto, she ran over the water and hugged him. "It's okay Naruto, you aren't alone." Naruto glanced at her, his crimson eye and his azure eye filled with sadness. "Sayuko." She hugged him tightly. "I don't see why you keep that genjutsu up, you look great." Naruto buried his head into her neck. "Why did he pick me, he cried. Sayuko placed a hand on the back of his neck, pulling him deeper into the embrace. "It's okay, I'm here for you Naruto-kun." Naruto looked at her, tears in his eyes. "Sayuko," he slowly leaned in with his head. Sayuko mirrored the action, blushes on both their faces. Their lips met and all of Naruto's sorrows drowned away as he focused on the person in front of him. Meanwhile, in the mindscape, clutching her chest, was a certain vixen. "Why," Kurama thought. "Why does my heart ache?" The kiss between Naruto and Sayuko lasted what must have been an age for them. At least that's how Sayuko felt. When her lips met Naruto's, she felt nothing else mattered. Not Sasuke, not Konoha, not even revenge on Itachi. All that mattered that her Naruto-kun was kissing her, not Hinata, not Sakura, her. Eventually Naruto pulled his head away, blushing heavily, breathing quite a bit. That was. Sayuko blushed and leaned her head into his chest, her arms still around his body. She could feel the abs under his shirt. They were lean, not those fake muscles she saw on others, these came from years of hard work and dedicated training, they were made to be used. "You better take responsibility," she whispered. "That was my first kiss." Naruto looked away. It was silent for a while until the silver-haired devil mumbled something. "What?" Sayuko asked. Naruto looked at her. "It was mine too." Her heart was filled with happiness upon hearing those words. She snuggled into his body, quite happy with their position. Naruto wrapped his arms around her and pulled her deeper into the embrace. This is wrong, Naruto thought. She's an Uchiha. I'm in Uzumaki, distant relations to the Senju. I should hate her. I should want to push her away. But I just can't push her away. I shouldn't feel like this but. Sayuko looked up at him and her made the mistake of looking into her eyes. Those black eyes, beautiful black eyes that seemed to stare into his soul and unravel all of his dark secrets. Naruto-kun, Sayuko blushed. "You're staring." Naruto blushed as well and looked away. Sorry." The Uchiha heiress turned his head. "Don't just stare," she whispered. He went on her tiptoes and kissed him. Naruto melted upon contact and pulled her closer, sliding his tongue into her mouth and letting it dance with hers. Sayuko let out a quiet moan upon this. They kept this up for 5 minutes before the kiss ended, a trail of saliva connecting their tongues. Sayuko, Naruto began, but she put a finger to his lips. "Unless the next words to come out of your mouth are loving ones, don't you dare ruin this moment." She let out a sickly sweet smile that sent shivers down his spine. It reminded him of her mother, Mikoto, one of the few women to treat him as an equal. He remembered an entry in the bingo book he had read long ago, the smiling monster Mikoto Uchiha. He felt Sayuko had inherited more than just her mother's looks. "Sayuko," Naruto began again. "I shouldn't feel this way about you," he stated, and Sayuko deflated. "I should hate you, I should think you're a waste of space, I should want you dead." He continued. Tears began to well in the Uchiha's eyes. "I should yell at you for daring to touch me and probably kill you right now." Tears were evident now and Sayuko was about to cry. But that caught her attention. "I can't bring myself to hate you. I'm trying. Right now I'm trying. I just can't bring myself to hate you." Sayuko's tears fell freely, staring at the man in front of her. "I can't open my heart to you, I've been hurt before and I shouldn't let the chance to be hurt again happen, I shouldn't be your boyfriend." Sayuko sniffed, but Naruto placed a hand on her cheek. "But despite all the shoulds and can'ts I've said I want to be that." Sayuko froze. What? She looked to him, only to melt upon seeing the smile, the true smile that adorned his lips. "Sayuko-chan," Naruto leaned in, so his lips were just by hers. "Will you be my girlfriend?" Sayuko couldn't believe it, Naruto had asked her the question she wasn't expecting for the longest time. "Please tell me this isn't a dream or genjutsu," she whispered. "If it were, I would make it reality," Naruto responded and Sayuko's lips crashed into his, knocking him onto the water. He concentrated chakra onto his back to stay up. Yes, the black-haired beauty repeated over and over again, kissing Naruto's cheek with each yes. Naruto blushed, happy. He had finally found someone who he cared for and who cared for him too. "As your girlfriend, I need you to do me a favor," she said immediately. "Not even 5 minutes," he chuckled. "What do you need?" "Take my brother's arrogance down a peg," she told him. "It's so difficult to live with him. Could you beat him badly, show him training is important. It means we could also skip the part where he challenges you to see if you're worthy of me." Naruto laughed. "Fair enough." He smiled and Sayuko's heart fluttered. She crashed her lips onto his again and the two remained like that for another 2 hours. Sasuke was sitting in his seat around the dinner table, fuming. The dope had gotten all depressed cause of how bad his birthdays were, which he doubted. Then his sister had run off looking for said dope, which he was shocked by. How could his sister, an elite Uchiha, go run off to look for a loser like Naruto? To say the least, he was baffled. Where are they? Sasuke gritted his teeth, clearly annoyed. Kakashi sighed, turning over a page in his book. Sasuke, we can't rush them. She may not really know where he is. Then she could just return, Sasuke stated. We could find the dope tomorrow. Kakashi sighed. Sasuke, Naruto is your teammate and will continue to be until you get promoted or one of you dies. Sasuke remained quiet at that and knew there was no point arguing with his sensei as he would lose the argument. A few minutes later, the door opened and everyone was confused at who walked in. Sayuko walked in first, with a very happy smile on her face, much to Sasuke's confusion. But everyone was further confused by who followed. He had tamed silver hair with silvery red tips that reached to the lower half of his neck. His eyes were mismatched. One azure blue, one burning red. He wore a dark red shirt, black jeans, and dark brown boots. He wore a black cloak, think of Virgil's but black, that reached just above his ankles. He looked to be 13 or 14. He stood at 5'7", tall for his age. Held in his left hand was a familiar sword. Yamato. Hey everyone. Sayuko yelled out, smiling. Hello Sayuko, Kakashi said. Who is the person with you? I'm gone for a few hours and you forget. The silver-haired devil said in a mock-hurt voice. I'm hurt Kakashi-sensei. Kakashi's visible eye widened. Naruto. Everyone's eyes, except Sayuko's, widened as they looked at the former blonde with shock. He made an over-dramatic bow, the one and only. He went to Tsunami and bowed. Forgive me Lady Tsunami, but my heart has been taken by another, I hope you can forgive me. Tsunami let out a small giggle. It's alright, you're a bit too young for me. Naruto stood and began to walk back over to Sayuko, before stopping and looking toward Sasuke. Hey Emo, wanna spar? Sasuke growled. You're on dope. Naruto smirked and turned. Follow me. With that, he walked out the door. Sayuko and Sasuke followed. Sakura was about to follow as well, but Kakashi grabbed her hand. No. We must stay and guard Tazuna, no telling when Gato may send some thugs to attack. Sakura pouted and was about to argue, but realized her words would fall on deaf ears. Hi sensei. She grumbled and sat back down, clearly angry. After all, anyone who got between her and her Sasuke-kun was in the wrong. How dare they try and keep her away from her lover? Naruto, as if reading her thoughts, grinned at her ignorance. Though he made a silent promise not to hurt Sasuke too much. After 5 minutes of walking, the group of 3 arrived at a clearing. This will do nicely, Naruto stated, a smirk on his lips. You're gonna lose no matter what dope, Sasuke sneered, clearly thinking he could still beat Naruto. Oh we'll see, Naruto countered and walked until he was around 100 yards. Sayuko walked to the edge of the training field and looked between her lover and her brother. No maiming, no killing, the fight ends when one is unable to continue, agreed. Sayuko called. They both nodded quickly. Hajime. Immediately, Sasuke ran at Naruto to what a civilian consider blinding speeds. He threw a kick towards the Uzumaki, who ducked under it with ease. He aimed a punch at Naruto's face, which was blocked by Yamato's sheath. Being greedy, he grabbed Yamato and attempted to yank it out Naruto's hands. This plan didn't work too well, as Sasuke was blasted back by a surge of black chakra. The Uchiha heir landed on his feet in slight pain. Greedy Sasuke, Naruto smirked. Didn't I tell you? Only the master of Yamato can use him. In other words, me. He dropped Yamato into a dark portal. A smirk was plastered on the Uzumaki's lips. Sasuke growled and made hand seals. Kaiten. Kikaku no Jutsu. The Uchiha roared and a fireball erupted from his mouth and shot at the silver-haired boy. Naruto sighed before making hand seals of his own. What a fool, he whispered. Kaiten. Hakume Goka. From Naruto's mouth came silver flames that spread out a great width. It swallowed Sasuke's fireball and kept on course towards the Uchiha heir. The Uchiha's eyes widened and was barely able to perform a Kawarimi to get away, swapping with a log all shinobi got access to somehow. He looked at the silver flames in pure fear. What the? One of my own original techniques, Naruto told him. Hakume Goka. The Twilight Hellfire. Only a powerful Suiton Jutsu could stop these flames. However, I can't use this jutsu again until the flames stop. So only when a Suiton Jutsu hits them. Or he snapped his fingers and the flames vanished. Sasuke growled and made more hand seals. Kaiten. Msenka no Jutsu. Aiming at the blonde once more, he shot several fireballs from his mouth, all of them about half the size of his last fireball. Naruto sighed. He tapped a seal on his cloak and from it came a familiar sword, the same sword his mother once owned. This is the difference between us. He channeled wind chakra into his sword and sliced each fireball down the middle. Sasuke stared at the Uzumaki in shock. Before he could even try and plan his next attack, Naruto vanished in a white flash, appearing behind Sasuke with his sword to the Uchiha's neck. "This is the result of training, Sasuke," Naruto told him. "You may be a prodigy, I may have been nothing at one point, but I trained, and now where are we? The dope just beat the rookie of the year." Naruto sealed his sword. Sasuke nodded. "Winner. Naruto." Sasuke looked at Naruto, then to his sister, and looked down. "But I need to beat Itachi," Sasuke whispered. "Do not let hate consume you, Sasuke," Naruto told him. "Itachi was trying to hinder you. The hatred will make you weak. But if when it comes, you can control it and use it to your advantage, then even Itachi will fall before you." The Uchiha heir looked up in hope. "But it means nothing if you don't train." Naruto walked over to Sasuke, and then the two began to walk away. "You're free to train with your sister and I. We train every day outside of missions." Sasuke looked after the two of them, staring at the back of Naruto. "Naruto is trying to help me. He's more like a brother than Itachi ever was." Sasuke couldn't believe this. The person who he thought was worthless, the person who was the weakest of the weak had just beaten him, and now he was the person who had just earned his respect and set his spot as Sasuke's #1 rival and friend. Sasuke looked towards the sky. He smiled softly. "Arigato, Naruto ni." With that said, he quickly turned and ran to chase after his sister and his brother. Naruto, Sasuke and Sasuke arrived back at the house. The 5 minutes it took them to get there, they spoke. Naruto was actually surprised to find out he and Sasuke had a lot in common. Sasuke enjoyed reading, learning new things, and they both even had a similar enjoyment for ramen. Sasuke giggled as they spoke. Her brother and boyfriend had a lot in common, which was good. It meant Sasuke may accept that Naruto was dating her. "Nah, Naruto?" Sasuke voiced, just outside the house. "Who was your sensei?" Naruto looked at Sasuke before sighing and explained to him about Kurama. He, once again, expected hatred, but Sasuke grew angry. "I always hated that damn civilian council. Always trying to kiss my ass and causing others pain. Next time they try and screw you over, let me know. They will do anything for one of the last Uchiha." Naruto smirked. "You got it, Sasuke." Sasuke giggled and Sasuke grinned. Sasuke looked back and forth between Sasuke and Naruto before smirking. "You should date." Sasuke blushed. "We kind of are already, Sasuke." Sasuke gained a blank look. "How long?" "A few hours ago," Naruto responded honestly. Sasuke shrugged. "That's cool with me. If it was a couple days ago I'd be pissed, but a few hours I can handle." Sasuke then looked at Naruto. "What training do you two do exactly?" "Mostly chakra control in my case," Naruto told him. "My reserves are so huge I need to do chakra control a lot to get them under wraps. I show Sasuke some taijutsu and kaiten, then set off for my chakra control. No Sharingan allowed, of course." Sasuke nodded. "What exactly are you good at?" "A lot, Sasuke," Naruto told him. "Plus I have an entity sealed in my gut that has thousands of years of knowledge. I know lost ninjutsu as well." Sasuke nodded. "Wait, then what was that Onmyoto stuff?" Naruto chuckled nervously. "Look, Sasuke, I have some secrets, as I'm sure you have yours." "Sasuke, let it go this time." Sasuke told him. When Naruto has a secret he is very stubborn. He does everything he can not to reveal it. "Even kill someone?" Sasuke teased, but Sasuke gave him a serious look. "He told me that's the thing he would do first if he had to," Sasuke said, seriously. Sasuke gulped. "Got it. So do you have any other weapons besides the scythe and Yamato?" "Yes," Naruto responded. "My kunai and shuriken and 2 more swords." "Do?" Sasuke raised an eyebrow. "Yes. The first is a family heirloom, which the bastards in Konoha were selling in a shop," Naruto growled. Sasuke got an angry look, but controlled herself. "The second?" Naruto didn't speak. Instead, he walked up to Tizuna's house and opened the door. "Yo. We're back." "Welcome back," Kakashi said, without looking up from his book. "Who won?" "Sasuke-kun, of course." Sakura screeched. Sasuke-kun would never lose to Naruto Baka. "I lost," Sasuke said, and Sakura looked at him in shock. Naruto Baka must have cheated, the Banshee began, but was cut off by Sasuke. "If you ever claim Naruto of cheating again, I will personally go to the Hokage and report you for all the hits you have given Naruto over the years and have you thrown in prison for assaulting a fellow Leaf Shinobi." Sasuke yelled at her, and Kakashi's single eye widened. Sasuke just defended Naruto. Sakura was speechless, to say the least. Her Sasuke-kun, the best of the best, just defended the dope. The dead last the loser. "Enough," Kakashi commanded. "We are all going to go to sleep. Sasuke and Sakura will share one room. Sasuke and Naruto, you get another. I will be sharing with Tizuna. I'll start training you tomorrow." Everyone nodded, though Sakura grumbled about not being close to her Sasuke-kun, and they all went to their rooms. Naruto lay on one of the futons that had been laid out. Naruto? Sasuke asked. What makes you so strong? Naruto looked at him surprised. Seriously? He looked confused. Nothing can stop me from my revenge on Itachi. He killed everyone I loved besides Sayuko without mercy. But why are you so strong? Naruto stayed silent for a long time. Sasuke was about to just go to sleep, but then Naruto spoke. I guess my desire to protect my precious people. Sasuke looked at him. Protecting your precious people? Naruto nodded. If it means I can protect those close to me, I will fall into the depths of hell to gain power. Not to hurt people with, but to protect people with. That's why I'm strong. I train to protect. Sasuke looked at him before turning away. Protecting how the Uchiha heir fell asleep soon, with those thoughts in his mind. Naruto looked at him and smiled. Soon enough Sasuke, you'll see what I mean. With that, the Uzumaki fell asleep. The next day, the forest was peaceful. Birds sung in the trees as the sun shone through the trees. Winds blew through the leaves, making them dance happily. It was a moment of serenity and peace. Naruto Baka. Until the voice of a banshee broke through the silence. Naruto held his ears. What now Sakura? What did you do to Sasuke-kun? She demanded. Naruto narrowed his eyes at her then turned to Kakashi. Sensei, can we please start this training exercise? Yes Naruto, Kakashi agreed. Today, I will be teaching you how to climb trees. Sakura looked from Naruto to Kakashi, confused. But sensei, we can already climb trees. Did I mention without the use of your hands? Kakashi smiled. Sasuke and Sakura looked shocked. No way, the banshee said. Kakashi made the ram seal before he placed one foot on the tree then another and began to walk up the tree until he was upside down on the first branch. Naruto rolled his eyes. Sensei, Sayuko and I can do that already. Kakashi raised a skeptical eyebrow and Naruto sighed. He and Sayuko then began walking up the same tree until they were upright on the first branch. Then I guess I'll teach you water walkie Kakashi began. We know it, Naruto snapped. Forget this. Sayuko, Sasuke let's go do some other training. Once you master this exercise Sasuke I'll show you some Kaiten jutsu you can practice. Sasuke nodded. Naruto and Sayuko jumped from the tree. Wait, where are you going? Kakashi asked, confused. He could understand if Naruto and Sayuko didn't want to do this cause they had it mastered. But Sasuke. Sensei, you are a shit teacher, Naruto told him, and Kakashi's eye widened. Tree walking and water walking are the basic of the basics in the shinobi world. You should have taught us this over the month of training and after that taught us some other jutsu. Maybe tested our elemental affinities. But instead you just taught us teamwork. Did you not think if we had matching affinities, we could increase the power of our jutsu? Naruto asked, and Kakashi considered it. I have a Suiton affinity. Sayuko has a Raiten affinity that we will be working on soon. Together, we could take out a lot of shinobi at once, but instead you are teaching us how to climb trees. He turned from his teacher. I refuse to call you sensei any longer. Until such a time that you actually teach us, you will never be my sensei. He glanced back once more before giving him one final insult. My father would be ashamed of you Kakashi, as would Obito and Rin. Kakashi stumbled back, eye wide, as Naruto, Sayuko and Sasuke walked away. Sayuko threw a glare of her own at Kakashi, stopping for a moment. He knows who his family is Kakashi. And we know all about you. Naruto-kun is right. They would be disappointed to know you if they could see you now. With that she quickly followed after Naruto. Sasuke now stopped and looked at Kakashi. In the end, you are like all the other villagers. I've seen how they look at him, I've noticed you look at him in the same way. I'll be telling Hokage-sama of your lack of teaching as soon as we are back. I hope we get a sensei who actually gives a damn. I don't need you to teach me how to use a Sharingan. Sayuko can help me more than you ever could. With that, Sasuke followed after his sister and her boyfriend. Kakashi fell to his knees, while Sakura looked confused. Obito Rin sensei Kakashi thought, sadly. I fucked up big time. Right, Naruto started. Sasuke, the trick to tree climbing is simple. You channel chakra into your feet. Too little and you slip. Too much and the bark explodes. For now, just focus chakra into your feet until you reach a point that feels comfortable. Then try walking up the tree. Once you can walk to the top of the tree and back down, then try running. Keep it up until you can stand on the tree subconsciously, without even thinking. Sasuke nodded and placed his hands in the ram seal and began pushing chakra to his feet. He felt like he would slip with one amount, so he pumped more. He then felt like his feet would explode. He furrowed his brow in concentration. He started to take away small amounts of chakra until his feet felt comfortable. He then, slowly and carefully, placed one foot on the tree. It didn't burst. He lifted his other foot and placed it on the tree. He smiled but didn't lose concentration. He then, slowly began to walk up the tree. Well, he did that, Naruto looked to Sayuko. Right, Sayuchan, Sayuko blushed at that. We are gonna start your lightning manipulation training. He walked over to a tree and placed his hand on it. It wrinkled and burst beneath his touch. Sayuko's eyes widened. Your first step is to make the tree wrinkle. The second is to make it burst after wrinkling. But your nature affinity isn't Raiten, Sayuko looked confused. How are you so good at manipulation? I learned the basics of all nature manipulation, Naruto explained. That way, if I ever need another jutsu for different manipulation, I can use it without too much trouble. Sayuko nodded, understanding his reasoning. She then walked to a different tree and placed a hand on it and began to channel her chakra. To her annoyance, the tree only wrinkled slightly. She growled and tried again, determined to get it right. Naruto chuckled as he watched his two students. Huh, Naruto thought. He had never thought of taking on students before, the thought had never occurred to him, and yet here he was, teaching two people he formerly hated as Bushin anyway, the basics of elemental manipulation and how to do tree walking. Now I see, Naruto said to himself. I can't see why Kakashi didn't teach us. It's an amazing feeling. Naruto then sat in the middle of the training grounds, his legs crossed. He made the ram seal and let his chakra flow freely. A small bit burst from him every so often, a shimmering white chakra. Sayuko stopped and looked over at him, smiling. Her smile faltered, however, when he opened his eyes. Just for an instant, too quick for people to usually see, his eyes were no longer their usual sky blue. The whites of his eyes were black and his pupils had become a silver, 8-pointed pinwheel. Naruto-kun. Sayuko called and Naruto looked at her. What was that with your eyes? Naruto was inwardly shocked but didn't show it. What are you talking about? Sayuko frowned but didn't detect his lie. She figured it was probably a dojutsu that he had unlocked but not yet realized it. Nothing, was just imagining things. She went back to her training but never let the image of those eyes fade from her mind. Naruto was worried. He hadn't ever expected her to see that and was hoping she really did brush it off as her imagination. He may have really liked her but he couldn't let anyone know of his eyes. He then closed his eyes again but kept chakra flow away from his eyes as he meditated. He remembered Kurama's words to him when he first started using his chakra a little while after they began his training. Chakra reflects the personality she had told him. Yours is no exception. Naruto frowned. He didn't know what that meant. He didn't even know what his personality was actually like. He acted like he did, but it was mostly a mask. Just for a minute, when he was practicing with Yamato, his true personality had shown through. But he didn't know what his personality was, which was odd. While Naruto thought of this, Kurama was in a secluded area where even Naruto couldn't hear her. She was curled up in a corner, tears falling down her beautiful face. Why does it hurt, she whimpered, her voice sounding more human. Whenever I see Naruto with Sayuko my chest clenches and I feel upset. Why do I? She wiped away her tears. Why do I feel like Naruto is being taken from me? Why do I want to hold him close to me and never let go? She opened her eyes and looked up, the image of the silver-haired devil smiling at her and offering a hand before her. Why do I feel so sad without you, Naruto-kun? After half an hour of meditating, Naruto opened his eyes and stood, looking at his girlfriend and her brother. Sasuke had improved a great deal already, running up and down the tree. He had made things harder by setting up traps. Whenever he passed a certain point, he broke a ninja wire that fired shuriken and kunai he needed to dodge. Naruto was impressed with this idea, he had done something similar with Kage Bushin. Sayuko, on the other hand, was panting. She had used a lot of chakra trying to wrinkle the trees. She had managed to wrinkle one tree, with great difficulty. It was that one that got her so tired. She sat on the ground, tired and feeling dizzy. Naruto smiled softly and walked over to her. He placed a hand on her shoulder. You did really well. Even experienced jonin take a few months to get as far as you have. Sayuko blushed. Well, she mumbled quietly. My boyfriend is going to be Hokage one day. I'm not going to let myself be too weak. After all, he needs a strong wife. Naruto blushed. Ah, I needed to talk to you about that. But you need to promise not to be mad at me. Sayuko looked confused, but nodded. Because I'm the last member of a dying clan, I fall under the craw. Sayuko's eyes widened in alarm and deep within the seal, a certain vixen's eyes became hopeful. Which means I will have to take on multiple wives. Kakashi will be obliged to tell Jiji about my Uzumaki heritage. In exchange for it, I was going to put the condition I choose who my wives are. Naruto explained and Sayuko sighed sadly. That's why I'm telling you. I will only allow someone who you approve of as my first wife. Sayuko's cheeks took on a pink tinge and her heart fluttered. He had called her his first wife. She smiled softly and considered his words. I'll agree on one condition. What is it? Naruto asked. Your first is mine, she told him. No ifs, ands or buts. Naruto considered this, and a certain vixen deflated slightly, but then frowned that she had. Alright, that seems reasonable. Sayuko smiled happily and kissed her boyfriend, who leaned into the kiss. Anything else you need to tell me? Right now? No. Naruto stood. I'm going to be going somewhere. One Sasuke masters tree climbing, show him water walking. When he gets that down, I'll move on to the next stage of his training. Sayuko nodded. Come back safe. Naruto smiled. I will. With that, he walked away, deep into the forest. When he was sure nobody could see him, he vanished into a dark portal heading for his pocket dimension he made with his Jikuten, space-time release. Naruto appeared in his pocket dimension. Yamato hanging in the air, suspended there. He was in an exact replica of Training Ground 7. Because this was his dimension, he could modify it to suit his needs. Yamato, Naruto spoke. Take your true form. The blade shook before blue wisps of light came out the blade and made a spiritual body. It looked exactly like Naruto, except slightly taller, with no whisker marks. He also had blue eyes, and his clothes were slightly different. He had brown gloves, brown boots, black jeans, a black shirt and a blue cloak that reached just above his ankles. And his hair was spiked up. What may I do for you, master? Yamato spoke, with a slightly deep tone that surprisingly also resembled Naruto's. Recently, I have been hearing a voice in my head, neither Kurama's, cows or yours, Naruto explained. Who is it? Yamato shifted, feeling uncomfortable. I am sorry, master, but I am unable to answer that question without further information. Naruto frowned. It sounds male. And it keeps trying to give me a name. But it keeps getting blocked out by something, and I can't hear it properly. But it's becoming clear. Yamato tapped his chin before realizing. Ah, that must be your zanpaku. Naruto frowned. Zanpaku. So ledge if you prefer, Yamato shrugged. The zanpaku exists within all living beings, usually spirits, but it is occasional that humans have one as well. It is, bluntly, a sword in its normal form. However, by speaking with it, you may learn your zanpaku's name and therefore release more of its power. This power can increase, however, when you summon your zanpaku and force it into submission. This stage is called Bankai, the final form of the zanpaku. Naruto narrowed his eyes accusingly. You seem to have a lot of knowledge on these zanpaku as you have called them. Yamato chuckled. In essence, I am too a zanpaku. Virgil had one, a very rare case considering he was a devil, and because he was very fond of me, I fused with his zanpaku. As such, I could only be used with Virgil. Unlike other zanpaku, I did not die with Virgil as I was originally a normal blade, so I lived on. Only one with Virgil's soul could wield me, that was when I met you, master. Naruto looked at him, very interested. What do you mean? As I said, only one with Virgil's soul can use me, Yamato repeated. However, you are a special case. Your soul is your own, yet not. I am guessing it is due to the Shiki Fuin, but your soul contains a fragment of Virgil's soul, which is why you, and you alone, can use me. However, because your soul is also your own, you have your own zanpaku as well. However, it is interesting that you cannot hear its name, and more so that you can communicate with it outside of your mindscape. I suppose it is due to the Shiki Fuin. Due to the seal. Naruto was confused. Yamato frowned. Think of it this way. The seal allows you to communicate with Kurama after you accepted her and open the link. I am guessing the seal also sealed your zanpaku along with Kurama, however because you were a child, it was sleeping. And now it is awoken, but is locked in the seal. However, because the seal was designed for Kurama, I believe you could release your zanpaku from the seal. And the reason you can communicate outside of the mindscape is also due to the seal. Because your zanpaku is within the seal, it can also communicate with you. I imagine it will lose the ability to do so once you let it out the seal, or in some cases they can adapt and continue doing it. It took Naruto a minute to process all of that. So basically, my father fucked up by sealing away the incarnation of my soul that I can use to do battle. He caused a fragment of Virgil's soul to somehow fuse with my own. I blame the Shinigami for that, must be planning something. In the netherworld, a certain death goddess, yes, goddess, sneezed loudly. Did I miss anything? Nope, that's about it, Yamato concluded. Naruto nodded. Can you sense others that have zanpaku? Yamato nodded. You are actually very close to two people that can, which is even rare. In fact, you are training them. Naruto's eyes widened. Sasuke and Sayuko have zanpaku. Yamato nodded and Naruto blinked. Once I free mine, I am making that part of their training, to awaken theirs. Yamato nodded. May I return to the sword now? One more question, why do you take that form? This was the form of my first and only master before you, Virgil Sparta. With that, Yamato turned into wisps of light that simply went back into the sword. Naruto remained silent after that. He had seen Yamato in that form countless times, and only now did he know who it was. It was his ancestor. He face-palmed and cursed himself for being so stupid. Naruto looked upon the training grounds in his dimension. He made a single hand seal as he closed his eyes. When he opened them again, they were no longer the blue and red that were seen usually. The whites of his eyes were black and his pupil was an 8-pointed silver pinwheel, spinning furiously. Back at the training grounds, Sayuko was showing Sasuke the water walking technique. "Okay Sasuke, watch me carefully." Sasuke nodded. Sayuko channeled chakra into her feet and gently placed one foot on the lake, then another, and she began to walk towards the center of the lake. She looked back at him and Sasuke's jaw dropped. "This is far more advanced than tree walking Sasuke," Sayuko told him seriously. "Unlike tree walking, where you use your chakra to stick to a solid object, you need to constantly channel your chakra and balance yourself on the water. And don't worry if you can't do it at first. Naruto told me when he first started doing water walking, he fell in and nearly drowned." Sasuke smiled, chuckling lightly. "Thanks sis." Sasuke closed his eyes and made the ram seal, following Sayuko's instructions. He, slowly and carefully, placed one foot on the water. When it sunk, he frowned and adjusted his chakra control. He followed Naruto's earlier advice of finding what you're comfortable with. Eventually, his foot was firmly atop the water. Slowly, he lifted off and placed his other foot. Without losing concentration, he walked towards his sister. He managed to get halfway to her before his chakra control slipped up and he fell in. Sayuko giggled as his brother shot a spout of water out his mouth. "Practice Sasuke. Naruto made me do this until I was exhausted and even then he just threw a food pill in my mouth and ordered me to try again." With her piece said, Sayuko rushed back to land and leaned against a tree, watching Sasuke. Was this how Naruto felt when he taught her? It was a nice feeling, to watching someone grow stronger with your advice. Sayuko let out a sigh and the image of that silver 8-pointed pinwheel appeared in her mind. What was that? She thought to herself. A Dojutsu. But I've never seen one like that. Maybe it's part of the Uzumaki clan and it was forgotten after the Second War. But no, I don't think so, there would have been records of that. Is it possible Naruto has blood from other clans? These thoughts were interrupted by a cursing Sasuke. Damn it. I will do this. I am an elite. No, I am Uchiha Sasuke, a proud Konoha shinobi. I will get stronger. With that, Sasuke channeled his chakra and ran over the lake, only to fall in once more. Sayuko giggled. At least he is training for the right purpose and not just to get revenge. She then frowned and sighed. Itachi, did you really kill the clan to test your capacity? Or was there some other reason? No matter what, I think you couldn't have killed the clan alone. Itachi, was there someone else involved with you that night? The black portal opened up behind Sayuko, not that she could see, and out of it, quietly, came a familiar silver-haired Uzumaki. He slowly came up behind Sayuko before wrapping his arms around her and whispering into her ear. "Hello, gorgeous." Sayuko blushed heavily. "Be baka." She whispered, but a smile played on her lips. In the academy, despite what she said to Naruto's clone, she really did like him. He was funny, bright, and lit up the classroom. When it was moody, he would crack a joke and make everyone laugh. When she found out it was just a clone, she was slightly devastated, which is why she followed around the real Naruto to see what he was like. And that's when she found out he was so much better. He was funny, bright, literally, when she used her Sharingan it was like looking at the sun, and very protective of his allies. He always knew what to say, and he was willing to help out his friends, hell even his enemies. Sasuke was one of them, and he chose to help him. And now? They were friends. Almost like family. Well, they might be family in the Fu. Whoa, calm down girl, a small part of Sayuko's brain said. Let's not rush ahead, that pesky Kra is going to be a problem. Naruto watched her expression change several times before chuckling and kissing her cheek. You're a bit too deep in thought, Sayu-chan. Sayuko blushed. Shut up Naruto-kun, she ordered, and Naruto let out a loud laugh. Sasuke, he was walking on water, turned to look and fell in again before yelling in outrage. Sayuko, possibly during this mission or some time after, I will be adding a new aspect to your training, Naruto told her with a serious tone, which surprised her. Naruto wasn't as serious as this unless he felt something was important or the training they would be doing was incredibly difficult and painful. As well as Sasuke's. What kind? Sayuko whispered to him, a bit fearfully. Naruto looked at her. You will see in time. He released her before walking to the middle of the clearing they were in. For now. I will meditate, I have something that is long overdue. With his words said, the Uzumaki closed his eyes and willed himself into his mindscape. Naruto opened his eyes but was surprised to see himself in an unfamiliar place. This was not the forest with the house he had made for Kurama and cows. It wasn't even the sewer that was his previous mindscape until he changed it. No, this place was completely different. The sky was thick with storm clouds. There was a blizzard trying its best to blow the Uzumaki away, but he stood his ground. The area around him was covered in a thick layer of snow. A jagged, snow-covered mountain was in front of him. A few feet to his left was a pillar with a kanji for seal on it. That must be it odd though, it doesn't seem like the shiki Fuin wait, did dad intentionally seal away my zanpaku? He growled, as nobody else in Konoha was good enough with seals to do this. That son of a bitch. He will get it in the afterlife. He walked over to the pillar and ripped the paper off. It was at that moment Naruto thought he may have made a huge mistake. Immediately after ripping off the paper, Naruto was blasted back and landed in the snow, hard. The blizzard grew stronger and started circulating around the pillar. The clouds grew thicker and lightning struck the top of the mountain, which shattered from the blast. But what really got Naruto worried was what happened to the pillar after all this. The pillar blew up into a million pieces and from it came a roar. Something flew up, a dark figure that flew into the clouds and let out a powerful roar that resonated with the clouds, making the blizzard even worse. The thing then shot back down to earth and exploded. The snow turned to ice and rose up. It became the head of a large ice dragon with glowing crimson eyes. "Child, can you wield me?" It spoke in a deep but not scary voice. It sounded curious. Naruto tried to speak before standing. "You bet your ass that I'll be able to wield you." "Then speak it." The dragon roared. "My name is..." "Eh?" Naruto cupped his ear. "What was that?" The dragon head roared before looking at Naruto with a glare. "You cannot hear my name, then beg in human." To the dragon's shock, Naruto let out a dry chuckle. "Human? My dear dragon, I am far from it." He stared at the dragon, a grin on his lips. "Speak your name once more. That is why there are second chances, right?" The dragon huffed and looked to Naruto. "My name is..." It was at that point both the dragon and Naruto spoke in harmony. Hyaren Meru, Ice Ring." The dragon head had its eyes wide in shock before its lips became what appeared to be a grin. "So, you can wield me. Then I am your humble servant, my master." The dragon burst into a million pieces and the clouds parted to reveal the sky. The snow melted and the blizzard stopped. The millions of ice shards shot together and became a katana. The guard was bronze, in the shape of a lotus flower. The guard was white, with dark blue diamonds running down either side of it. The chain was simply that, white interlocking chains. The blade was 24 long and the light reflected off it like ice. "So this is you Hyaren, Naruto smiled and the world faded back to the plane he made for Kurama and cows. "You are free to wander this world of mine and live with Kurama and cows as long as you do not stir trouble or make it snow." The voice of Hyaren spoke. "Thank you, my master." Naruto smiled before a pure white sheath, so white you could lose it in snow, appeared in his hands. He sheathed Hyaren and strapped it to his waist. Before he left he decided to speak with Kurama. "Kurama-sensei." He yelled, only to get no response. Naruto frowned. "Kurama-sensei." The descendant of Sparta yelled once more, but he received no response again. "Kurama." Naruto whispered this time, and his voice was barely audible. It was then he heard crying from somewhere, and Naruto frowned. The voice sounded like Kurama. His eyes widened and he bolted in the direction he heard crying. He ended up at the entrance of the cave, which was odd enough. He slowly walked in, heading deep into the cave, until he came across the sobbing for the Kurama, the Kyuubi no Kitsune. "Kurama?" Naruto asked again, but Kurama thought he was far away. "Oh Naruto-kun," Kurama whimpered, and Naruto raised an eyebrow at the suffix. "It hurt so much. To see you with the Uchiha girl, the thought of you with any woman it scares me." She opened her eyes to see Naruto, but thinking it was an imagination. "Oh how I just want to hold you in my embrace forever, where we can always be happy." Naruto blushed slightly and began to walk towards Kurama's outstretched hand. He held it in his own and the Biju gasped. "Kurama," Naruto said slowly. "Are you trying to tell me that you are in love with me?" Kurama looked like she was about to die of embarrassment but also of tears. I don't know how you found me, but yes." She looked away, tears in her eyes. I think I am in love with you, Naruto-kun." Naruto blushed. Then why are you crying?" Kurama pulled her hand away and curled into a ball. Because you have Sayuko now and I want you to be happy, even if it means I have to step down and keep away." Naruto clicked his tongue before bonking the vixen on the head. "You baka." She looked up at him, holding the lump on his head with tears in her eyes. What? Why do you think I'm going to initiate the craw on myself?" Naruto asked. Kurama frowned. I don't know. "Because both you and Sayuko matter to me," Naruto told her, and Kurama gasped. "Sayuko is going to have my first, we can't change that as I promised her. However, you will always be my first love." Naruto blushed when he said that and Kurama blushed fiercely as well, holding her hands over her heart. "I fell in love with you a long time ago but never found the confidence to tell you. I didn't think you would want me." Kurama crashed into him, hugging him tightly and giving him a hot passionate kiss. Naruto blushed fiercely, his eyes wide with shock, as Kurama kissed him with such skill all he could do was let a moan slip past his lips. Kurama broke the kiss. Sayuko gets your first time, but I get to give birth to your first child. Naruto blushed. Well, that's a bye. Naruto, Kurama gave him a sickly sweet smile. I will give birth to your first child, even if I have to make your semen the least potent thing of all time until I am pregnant. Are we clear? She finished in her demonic voice. Naruto gulped, and knowing better than to incite the wrath of a woman, he nodded. Okay. Promise me, she glared, and Naruto sighed, knowing he had no choice. I, Uzumaki Naruto, promise that you, Kurama, will give birth to my first child, he spoke in a formal voice. Until such a time as I am ready to get you pregnant, my semen shall be infertile. It will only be fertile the time we have sex that gets you pregnant. With his words said, a pale aura grew around Naruto. The deed was done. Kurama smiled. Good, she cooed. Now, have fun telling Sayuko. Naruto felt himself being pulled out of the mindscape. His eyes were wide with fear. His last words before being dragged away were ones Kurama would remember forever. Son of a dick jockey. Naruto's eyes bolted open and he randomly yelled out. Son of a dick jokey. Those 5 words caused Sasuke, who had finally gotten the hang of water walking, to lose concentration and fall into the water. Sayuko looked at him before she burst out laughing and fell to the floor, clutching her stomach. Naruto blushed slightly and cursed silently. He then stood and Sasuke and Sayuko noticed the sword that was now slung at his side. Naru-kun. Sayuko called out after coughing a few times from her laughter. Where did you get that sword? It wasn't there a moment ago. Naruto blinked and looked to his waist. Sure enough, there was Hyaranmaru, seeming quite snug in his new spot. Oh, this is my zanpaku, he told them. When he saw the blank look on their faces, he sighed. A zanpaku is the manifestation of your soul, given the form of a sword. Usually spirits can have them, however, occasionally, humans can have them. And even more rarely, so can devils. This will be a stage in your training to awaken your zanpaku. Sasuke frowned as he stood on the shore, shaking himself to dry off. But Naruto, how do you know we even have zanpaku? Yamato, the sword of my predecessor, Virgil Sparta, was a zanpaku, in a sense, Naruto explained. Because Virgil liked Yamato so much, his zanpaku fused with Yamato, making Yamato sentient. Because of this rare occurrence, Yamato gained the ability to sense zanpaku within others. And he sensed zanpaku within you too. Sayuko's eyes were wide with shock and Sasuke smirked. See, can you show us yours? Like how it works? Sayuko asked. Naruto shrugged and drew Hyaranmaru. After he did, a series of words ran through his mind. Sotenai's ace, reign over the frozen heavens, he spoke, gaining confused looks from Sasuke and Sayuko as he raised his blade into the air. Hyaranmaru, ice ring. Immediately, Sayuko and Sasuke found a pressure among them and difficulty breathing as Naruto's power skyrocketed. The chain of Hyaranmaru grew longer and a large crescent moon chain appeared on the bottom. Behind Naruto, a roar came as the water in the air froze and an ice dragon with crimson eyes appeared. It arched its back and roared into the sky. Sasuke looked on in shock. His brother, well, he wasn't his brother yet, could do all this. Just from saying 4 simple words. Sasuke began to get greedy, but reined it in. He would not be a fool and just seek power for revenge, he would do it to protect people. But, as he watched Hyaranmaru in its released form, he felt an insane power and pressure from Naruto. It wasn't chakra, no, far from it. It felt more like, well, Sasuke wasn't sure exactly how to describe it. It was similar to killing intent. He felt like fighting wasn't worth it, but he still had his free will to battle. He trembled and knew that Naruto could kill him with just a flick of his wrist. Well, the Uchiha air was like this. I feel like I'm suffocating, Sasuke thought. Sayuko, on the other hand, was affected but not in the same way. She began to rub her legs together as the pressure affected her too. As she looked at her boyfriend, she could feel her body getting hotter from the raw power he was emitting. Now, Uchiha Sayuko was by no means a pervert. In fact, she hated perverted people with a fierce passion. But well, she was always turned on by power. To feel raw power slam against her, make her feel pathetic, yes, you guessed it. Uchiha Sayuko was, in fact, submissive. She loved to feel weak and powerless, and Naruto was making her feel just that. Oh god, she moaned in her mind. All this power, oh god, if he were to fuck me I would break, if he were to let out his power and fuck me, I would break under his touch. Naruto looked at them, an evil glint in his eye, as if an evil idea had just entered his mind. This is my zanpaku, Hyaranmaru. The dragon roared again in delight, happy his master had awoken and had accepted his power and right. And, soon, I shall be helping you awaken your zanpaku. He gained a sadistic smile and both Sasuke and Sayuko gulped. Get ready you two, because you have never experienced training like what I'm going to put you through these next 9 days. Because I want to get you both to awaken your zanpaku as soon as possible. With his piece said and demonstration done, Naruto sealed his Shikai, causing the ice dragon to disappear and his sword to return to normal. And let me tell you, these next 9 days, I will make any form of training you have felt, seen or heard about, seem like going on a swing in the park. At those words, Sasuke and Sayuko shivered, knowing they were royally, oh so royally screwed.